Down in Atlanta, stayed at the centerfold.
Atlanta, Georgia's capital city, crowned in 24-karat gold, where the centerfold is a mile and a half of asphalt. In its past, this was the magic city of racing, the place where champions got the ultimate bling. Now it's the mecca of Southern rap. Where on the east side, Lil Jon ushered in crunk music. Here, you're never an outcast. With amigos like these, and chasing waterfalls isn't too ludicrous. Birthplace to the king of the civil rights movement. A melting pot of culture where people step to the beat of their own drum, never backing down from good trouble. No matter what you call it, the energy here hits different. This is Race Day from Atlanta.
We welcome you live from Atlanta Motor Speedway, one of the fastest places on earth. It's a cool, clear, and windy day in the Deep South for the fifth race of the season, 400-mile event with speeds of up to 185 miles per hour. You're part of Race Day, the pre-race show on Fox, presented by Coca-Cola Zero Sugar. We're about 25 miles from downtown Atlanta at the racetrack. 3 overtime finishes so far this season as we welcome you to the track where the action is over the next hour to count you down to the start of the race. Tony Stewart, Clint Boyer, I'm Chris Myers. Thanks for tuning in with us and discussing a race that we look forward to for a number of reasons, because it's a drafting track. Yeah, it's a mile and a half, but it runs a lot like Talladega or Daytona, maybe even more challenging.
You hit the nail on the head, Chris. We all watched the wild Daytona 500 finish, all the crazy action down there. This is only better. It's exactly that, everything you know about a super speedway, but it's only on the tight confines of a mile and a half track. Whoa, Tony. And beating and banging is the name of the game.
This is definitely more intense. I mean, handling's always a factor here, and the track's narrow. It's not as wide as Daytona and Talladega are, so for these guys to sit there and pull a 3-wide move, they got to have a lot of confidence in their car and the handling to pull that off.
Yeah, Chevys have won the first 4 races this year, but Ford's line up in the top 8 spots today. Could this be their day?
I absolutely believe so. They showed a lot of strength in qualifying. I know I talked to our drivers. They felt good about the handling of their cars, even though they were that fast in qualifying. So it answers the question of did they set up and show up at the track for speed for qualifying, or are they set up for the race? So I think Ford has a great shot today.
I'm going to tell you this. If I'm Doug Yates and company on the engine department that took 8 out of the top 10 spots in qualifying, they better be their day.
All right, well, it's been a tumultuous week for NASCAR, Hendrick Chevrolet, Denny Hamlin. We can go on and on. We'll recap in case you missed it to bring you up to date, and then discuss with all involved, or at least some of those. It was a week of penalties, appeals, and a lot more.
Hendrick drivers and crew chiefs hope to avoid significant penalties as NASCAR confiscate all 4 teams' louvers following practice on Friday, as well as those of Justin Haley on Saturday. NASCAR told teams not to modify them and will determine whether Hendrick did.
Denny discussed his most recent run-in on his weekly podcast.
I'm about to get passed by everybody behind me, and I said, you're coming with me, buddy.
Really?
Honesty is the best policy, boys and girls, except maybe when NASCAR's listening.
I suspect they're going to do something.
Denny Hamlin fined $50,000 and docked 25 driver points for making intentional contact with Ross Chastain.
We would have viewed that as a racing incident, but then you start admitting you have intentionally done something, put us in a position that we had no choice.
NASCAR also penalized each of Hendrick Motorsports' 4 Cup teams and the number 31 for unapproved parts modification. All crew chiefs were suspended for 4 races, fined $100,000, docked 100 points, and 10 playoff points.
With the exception of the 9 teams, since they have a substitute driver.
We will continue to do what we need to do to keep this car in check.
Hendrick Motorsports released this statement. We are disappointed with today's decision by NASCAR and have elected to appeal.
They did not race this. They did not even qualify with this. And this is probably what Hendrick is hanging their hat on.
It's a terrible situation, not only for us, but the industry. And it's really unfortunate that we are, because it doesn't help anybody.
At first, Denny said he was not going to appeal, but now he is going to appeal.
It's been a crazy week, but now we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Vice Chairman of Hendrick Motorsports, Jeff Gordon, is joining us here. Rick Hendrick, by the way, planned on being here. This is important for him. He has a bit of a cold, could not travel, echoed some thoughts, but we'll let you represent in terms of the appeal process. We understand it's going to happen this week. And what do you hope to accomplish other than rescinding fines? What's the point you want to make your first line of defense in this appeal?
Yeah, first, Chris, I think, we just look at how this was handled. I think it could have been handled in so many different ways from NASCAR. Hendrick Motorsports prides ourselves in the precision, the detail in which we go about building our race cars. Is part of why we've been so successful over the years. But we also do it with integrity and respect for the rules and how NASCAR governs those. And so for us, it just feels like it wasn't done in that way. We feel like if our integrity, is going to be questioned, we're going to push back and we're going to, appeal this for that reason. And I think there's also one thing I want to say is there's this, kind of narrative up and down pit road that these single source parts that you're not allowed to touch them. NASCAR said you're not allowed to touch them, modify them. I guarantee you, up and down this grid right here, there's not a single car that hasn't in some way touched or modified or done something to one of those single source because the product that we're getting delivered to us, one, the quality is not up to the standard. The parts that we're talking about are not up to the quality. So NASCAR allows teams to do it just for fit, but there's also the detail in which that part was designed and approved by NASCAR and making sure that it fits within that box on top of those other things just for the fit.
Was there an earlier warning, or that's what the problem is? You're being punished for something that you
well, this is why I feel like it could have been handled in a different way, is because this was found 30 minutes before practice on a day that this is a rule that got changed right on the cars at the very last minute. It was one of those things that when the season started, we found out there was going to be this rule change aerodynamically at Phoenix. So a lot of communication was going back and forth, what you could, what you couldn't do, created a lot of confusion. And so then we get to the racetrack, it's not even a mandatory inspection day, and NASCAR noticed it, didn't say anything to the team till after that practice session, which was not any competition practice. And then we went, took it off and found out about it after the practice when NASCAR came to us for the first time.
To me, I think that's the most interesting thing. Obviously, a lot of layers about this conversation. You hear a lot of people in the garage area talking about this and this problem. Only one of them, obviously, is in an appeal situation with a massive fine and points penalty. But for me, in my own opinion, I think that's the catch here. The 6 car is the only other one that ever had this penalty put in place. And it was right here at Atlanta. It was after the race, folks. This is a situation that was never competed in. It was only practiced with. Never under any kind of competition was this part. So for me, I'm interested to see what this appeal is going to do on that, standalone.
Well, that, like you said, I mean, there's multiple layers to this. There's more than just the part itself. It's the process during that day, and the officials saw the parts before you took them off. Like you said, you never qualified, you never ran the race. I really don't understand NASCAR's logic on why the penalty is so severe for something that didn't compete.
Yeah, and we actually saw a similar situation last year with some wheels, where a design was put in place and a modification happened, and yet, there was no penalty whatsoever, even though teams were told not to modify that part. So, but that car was never raced either, prior to the race.
Before we let you go, we got to get back and get to the folks in the studio. Want to comment real quick the impact on the race today with an entirely new set of crew chiefs for your drivers?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those particular races where maybe it's a little bit easier to call because of the type of racing that we're going to see here today. But our crew chiefs, have done a great. We have a lot of depth at Hendrick Motorsports. We're very fortunate of that. So I feel like we're in good shape. We were on we got a lot of positives. There's been a lot of discussions and planning to get here today, and I feel like we're going to be in good shape. But it's never the same without those 4 crew chiefs on the box, making those calls.
Thanks for coming by and addressing. Good luck today. Let's head to the Charlotte studio. Larry McReynolds, Jamie McMurray get their thoughts, and Shannon Spake. Shannon?
Yeah, thanks so much, Chris. Always good to hear from Jeff Gordon, Larry. And what I heard him say was these modifications were not necessarily made for advantage on the racetrack, but more out of necessity because of quality or fit.
Yeah, and if the louver doesn't fit, it's not like they've got 10 of them on the shelf. There's a little bit of a lack of supply of these louvers right now. All 3 manufacturers had front-end changes: the nose, the hood, which included the hood louvers. And when they did a parity test the end of last year in the wind tunnel to make sure everybody was together, there were some changes being made with those louvers right there. And I've even been told the drawing that the teams have, that NASCAR has, that the louvers being distributed right now, they do not even match those drawings. But the real head scratcher to me is the 31 car, Colleague Racing, Justin Haley. They only took one louver. So this tells me these things were modified to be able to fit the race car.
Yeah, and the word that Jeff Gordon said there that stuck out to me was integrity.
Yeah.
And you know, listen, we all know teams push the limits, but it just sounds like this was a change to the car to make it fit their hood. I don't think they've really done anything wrong here, and I'm with Larry. We've talked about this. I think you're going to see part of this, if not most of this, overturned when they go to the appeal.
They got the same penalty that 3 cars got last year in post-race.
Yeah.
And they never competed.
It doesn't
with
add up.
these.
Yeah, and that's what Tony mentioned, right? These didn't even compete. All right, big weekend for the Fords. They're going to start 1, 2, 3. The field will follow them to green. Here is what we're following as we get you set for 400 miles in Atlanta.
Race day is rolling right along here in Atlanta. And do we have a show for you? It's not always peachy out here on the track. Denny Hamlin joins us after the break to break down last week's run-in with Ross Chastain. Then, we'll take a walk down memory lane as we revisit Alan Kulwicki's 1992 quest for the championship in the greatest race. Afterwards, we get to know a group of fans finding friendship and community through the sport of NASCAR. And later, we're in for some fun with our lovable and unpredictable Michael Waltrip on the grid walk. Don't go anywhere. This is Race Day on Fox.
What are tough, hard-working, and persistent? No chance. Those Mahindra tractors. That's what do you say we have a little race? Fire them up, boys! Driver, are you ready? Driver, are you ready? Go! Oh, flexing on you over here. I thought they were going to hit. You better go, Tony! The winner! Oh, Tony still got it. Who can remove the egg off the top of the cone without knocking the cone over?
Yeah, we're going to go this way.
He's going to knock it off behind it. You only get one chance. My gosh, Chase, there's a time limit. He wins. That wasn't even close. I have an egg. I'm going to put it in the cone. You have to get to the finish line without breaking the egg. Don't worry, Chase. His is already cracked. You better go, Chase. You better go. Oh, my gosh. How are we ever going to live with this champion? Look what you've done.
I know. He signs my paycheck, so I figured better off just let up a little bit there at the end.
The perfect setup, you know, thought we were going to be a little too tight maybe, but, you know, thing was really freed up nice and rolled the corner.
Smooth ride, those Mahindras.
Powerful, they're strong, they're tough.
Hey, my man knows how to run one, too. I'm telling you.
Chase Briscoe hopes to be as smooth today. 400 miles, speeds of up to 185 miles per hour. As we continue live from Atlanta Motor Speedway, time to check on the Coca-Cola Racing family of drivers. Joey Logano is sitting on the pole trying to get his first Atlanta win. Austin Dillon, Daniel Suarez, Denny Hamlin starting 14th. And we welcome him as we are on the grid here at the track, infield behind us with Tony and Clint. Nice to have Denny Hamlin with us. Been an eventful week, by the way. How you doing? You all right?
Doing good. Ready for the race today.
All right. Of course, a couple of things to cover before we get to that, Denny. First, the idea to change not appealing and then wanting to appeal your fine for comments made about Ross Chastain, which you had since cleared up between the two of you in the last race.
Yeah, certainly. I think that this has been a rivalry for the last year, and two drivers that hadn't cut each other much breaks over the last year, and two drivers that also worked it out on Sunday, and unfortunately, we're keeping this going.
So you're appealing because you made a comment on a podcast afterwards, a little bit more about payback, that you were honest about it, and then NASCAR, which they said, well, if he didn't say anything, I'm paraphrasing, we'd kind of let him go, and now we got to fine him. So is that your argument here, that there should be at least a time limit on something like this because that's part of racing, as they've admitted?
Well, it's interesting. You can draw a lot of different ways to make it, sound like another sport or not, but essentially essentially it's like, saying during a football event that there's no pass interference, and then a day later the cornerback's like, yeah, I held him there, and then they say, all right, well, let's change it and fix it. So, again, these are two drivers that worked it out on Sunday, and certainly I think when all the facts are out there and we look at all the evidence, I believe I've got a very strong case.
Well, obviously you thought there's a grace period there, just like you said, the game's over, right? So it was okay, acceptable to go ahead and talk about what happened on Monday's podcast. That one bit you. Is there... With you and Dale Jr., I would think when you come up with a podcast called Actions Detrimental, is there just a pot to pay fines? Like you go in this knowing it's going to happen. What did you start with? What was the pot?
Well, I don't know. I think that they were very strategic in picking me for this. I mean, I think there's probably a couple guys here that have had a few fines as well. This one right here for sure. But yeah, I've paid my very fair share of fines for that exact Actions Detrimental. Different outcomes, but my podcast is hopefully somewhere that people can come for a resource of finding out what happens on Sunday. What did they not see? Give them an insider's perspective of what they did or did not see, and we're going to continue to do that and try to reach fans, new and old fans.
What changed your mind, though? Through this, you got the penalty, right? Boom, the whammy. What changed your mind through the course of the week? You first said, I'm not going to appeal it, come back a couple days later, so I'm going after it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get into my defense here because it gives the prosecution time to plan for it. But I think that I have a very legitimate case in this. Obviously, one of them being the word intent was taken out of the rule book. So what does it matter what I say?
That's right.
And there's a team responsibility, right, with points and things like that are bigger than just you talking on a podcast.
Yeah, I mean, listen, these 25 points, the money is whatever, right? But the points itself is something that ain't going to matter until it does, and we won't know till 20-some weeks from now. But words coming out of your mouth equaling a points fine, I don't quite understand that.
Right. Well, it's just too much handcuffing everybody of what can you say, what can't you say. When you guys left the track, it was over. If they had something to say about it, they should have said it Sunday. Whatever you say on Monday, I feel like is your opinion. It's your voice. You have the platform. You're able to do what you want to do. That's my opinion.
Yeah, coming from a guy who knows how to pay back people within the structure
and
of the
driver. And I've paid a lot more fines than him,
of
too.
the driver code. Hey, about today's race, we know how good you are at the Daytona 500, a drafting track here. You see things well. He says Clint says a little more challenging than those kind of tracks because of the narrowness and a number of factors. What do you think at 400 miles today?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting race for sure. I mean, the track should be gripped up technically because of the weather, but I think the track has lost a little grip. So is it about equal from what it was last year? Certainly we saw very close and tight racing last year. I would expect no different today. Certainly is going to be very exciting no matter what.
And you're usually calm racing. You're going to be wearing the heart monitor today, so you want to stay tuned during the race.
We'll see just how calm he is.
That's right.
What's going to cause that monitor to go up racing or during the week with your appeal?
My heart probably races more during the week than it does in racing. I've worked on my heart rate for a very long time, getting it down in the car. A lot of that comes down to driver comfort, breathing, things like that. And so you're probably going to see some pretty low numbers.
All right. Well, we thank you for your time and coming by.
Man.
Appreciate it. All right. Good luck today. When we continue live here from Atlanta Motor Speedway and a race day on Fox. Some of the historic moments that have stood out at this track over the years, from Kevin Harvick's first win to something that many have called the greatest race with some of the greatest names involved. That's straight ahead if you stay with us, and I know you will.
So cool to celebrate NASCAR 75, look back on some of those moments. And I know, Larry, you were in the broadcast booth for that. You were down in the garage every single weekend. How did that win resonate with everyone in NASCAR?
Yeah, I mean, Shannon, we were still just roughly a month removed from losing our friend, the guy that moved the needle in NASCAR, Dale Earnhardt. And, I think there was a thought that we didn't want to be at the racetrack. But I think that right there, we knew Dale wanted us to move on. That was a sign that it's okay to move on. We're going to be okay as a sport. Obviously, that's what Richard Childress Racing needed. It's what the NASCAR community needed. I think it's what the sports world needed.
Yeah, I think every fan has that memorable moment for them that they always think about. And for me, this is one of those like top 3 moments that I remember. And partly because I was running the Xfinity Series with Kevin the day before. And it wasn't the fact that he was just able to win a cup race. It was the fact of whose car he was in and that he beat Jeff Gordon to the start-finish line. It was just everything in one. And it's something that I'll never forget.
Yeah, seeing him hold the 3 out that window, I get chills every time.
Yeah.
Kevin announced this week that he's going to be running that 29 car in the All-Star race, so something to look forward to. All right, there's been so many incredible racing moments at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. In fact, the 1992 season finale is what some call the greatest race. It had a trio of future Hall of Famers, one making his first start, one making his final, and one overcoming so much to become the champion.
There's the checkered flag for Allen. He's the champion for round 2.
When I think about the importance of his story, the big story was not what he did, but how he did it with his little crew, who to this day, we fondly refer to each other as Kowickiites.
His goal was to win everything, and he did, you know, but at the time when we were all being hired, we didn't realize that was going to happen.
He never gave up. I mean, he never gave up on himself. He never gave up on his team.
Allen was the business manager, the chief strategist, and the team engineer, all while driving that car at 200 miles an hour.
You've got Bill Elliott driving for Junior Johnson. Then you've got Davey Allison driving for Robert Yates Racing. But then I think you had the underdog, Alan Kowicki, a single team driver owner. But he goes to Atlanta as a player in this championship. You would get 5 points for leading a lap, and you would get 5 points for leading the most laps.
That 5-point bonus was the difference in who would be champion.
Watching the 7 and watching the 11 battle for this championship.
Those guys were passing each other 2 and 3 times on the same lap.
Well, he knew how far out he was. He knew how many points it was from first to second. He knew how many points it was for leading the most laps.
He was a driving computer.
Flag is out.
So on that day, Kowicki led 103 laps.
Less than 1 lap to go.
But if you go back and to see that it was only 1 more lap for the 7 car.
Bill Elliott and Junior Johnson could have been sitting at the front table at the Waldorf instead of Mighty Mouse there.
I think that shows a lot of people that, hey, it can be done. You just got to put your nose to the grindstone and make it happen.
About 4 or 5 months later, on April the 1st, when we lost Alan Kowicki in that plane crash flying into Bristol, it became a little clearer to me maybe why we didn't win that championship, that was Alan's time. It's the only championship he would get to celebrate.
Because of the way this race turned out, the fan base, the fan base that followed it, you know, it was huge. So for us to be here, to be able to talk about it and continue to talk about Alan's legacy and talk about Alan in general is just a lot of fun, and it's heartbreaking. But you know, just glad to be here.
It's hard. It is hard. Like I say, there's certain things that you connected with. The man brought out the best in you, and that's not everybody can do that.
You know, I didn't set out to try to be an example or anything like that, but if I am one in the process, well, great. Maybe that'll motivate some other people to go on and try to do this.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter how much time has passed. The emotions, as you could just see in that piece, was so strong. I know you were really good friends with Alan Kowicki. I never got to meet the man. Tell me a little bit about him.
Yeah, I mean, one, he was a well of a race car driver, but he was really ahead of his times. Mike Joyce said it. He was an engineer that was also a race car driver. He moved down from Wisconsin on a wing and a prayer, and he did it his way. He had an opportunity to drive for one of the top organizations in the sport, Junior Johnson and Associates. He turned it down. He said, I came down here to do my deal, and I'm going to do my deal. Obviously, in 1992, it worked out pretty good.
As you listen to all those guys talk, it's so hard in the moment, I think, to realize that that's going to be one of the greatest moments in NASCAR history, that championship win. And And then to see the emotion from Paul Andrews 31 years later, right, and talking about that, I think it shows just how special Alan Kulwicki was to all of them.
And of course, the Polish victory lap. We still see that from time to time.
Absolutely.
It is historic, certainly. Let's head back out to the track, bring in Chris Myers. Listen, I know, Chris, the excitement is growing down there. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Shannon. And talking about some of the great memories at the track and somebody who's had a lot of opportunity here and likes his chances today, Brad Keselowski. How about a quick comes to your mind racing here at Atlanta Motor Speedway? Some thoughts?
Oh, man, this is, a track that has history back to the old days of NASCAR, Chris. And some of the races we've had here, I think there was one with Tony where you drove by me and smoked the field here. I'll never forget that one, 2011. But, the track has gone through so many different versions, from the original mile and a half that, was just a pure oval to, the version with the dog legs, and now this one, it's more like a super speedway. So you've seen all types of racing here.
Yeah, I wish you would have brought us some rolls, by the way, because I'm a big fan. But
it's coming. I'll make sure.
Obviously. But what's the strategy? What do you got to think about it? Is this truly like Daytona and Talladega, where you're worried about partnering up with the manufacturer cars, or is this more of you're just worried about your own team and your teammates?
Daytona and Talladega, Tony, have really morphed into the manufacturer race. I mean, you got the Fords and the Chevys working together, but it's so much harder to do that here. It's 2 grooves. And really, it's not even 2 grooves a lot of times. Like 3 and 4, you really want the middle of the racetrack. And if you try to get out of that, it gets really hairy. So, with the way you have to leapfrog race here, I don't think you're going to see that. What you are going to see is a lot of pushing down the front stretch, and that's when things get hairy.
All right. So where do you want to be on that? You want to be the pusher or the pushee?
I want to be like running second, Clint, at the start-finish line with a big run and somebody good behind it. I think that's kind of the unstoppable move right now at this track.
Well, certainly, we've been watching RFK. I've been talking about it the last couple of weeks. I mean, it's a noticeable change, right? This year over last, big-time difference maker in the money, in the shot. I asked you on the way over here, I asked Brad, and I want everybody to hear this. I said, when are you going to win?
I said, here. Yeah, I mean, we've got a great car. Started in front, qualified 4th. The Fords have a lot of speed at this type of track. We found a lot of things at RFK to make our cars better since last year. We don't need good luck to win today. We just need to not have any bad luck.
All right. Hey, if I recall, your 2 wins at Atlanta here, they were your first wins of those seasons, and it's kind of set the tone. So you're looking for the first win of this season.
Absolutely. We've had a great start to the season, Chris. We just haven't got the finishes. If we can get the finish here today that we deserve, we can get victory lane.
And a lot has been made about some of the penalties this week. As an owner, driver, you got Denny Hamlin involved. You got Hendrick involved. Have you thought about this? Have you checked your louvers, by the way, just to make sure?
Well, our guys have checked them. They've checked them.
Okay, good. I'm glad people are on that.
NASCAR's got a really tough job, Chris. There's a lot of great competitors in this garage, and they try to keep them in check. And every once in a while, the only way they'll listen is if you slap them. And I've been slapped. Tony, you've been slapped. Clint, we've all been slapped. But that's the only language we hear. And so, it's NASCAR's job to pick who and when to slap. And we can argue over whether it's the right time or not. But I don't envy their position of trying to keep all these drivers in this industry in line. And sometimes they got to do things that we don't always agree with.
All right. Hopefully all the parts are together. Have a good race today. And thanks for stopping by. We always like
and good luck.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
We will continue live from Atlanta Motor Speedway. The driver introductions continuing. We're going to take a look at some special fans that have bonded over NASCAR and enjoying the races. Stay tuned as we count you down to the 400-miler.
Welcome back to Race Days. We're getting closer to green flag racing in Atlanta. And listen, that guy's showing it right there. There's no doubt that the fans, they make this sport go round. And one particular group of fans came together, started a Facebook group that they titled Black NASCAR Fans. And this weekend, they are having one of their biggest meetups of the year.
I've been a race fan for over 30 years, and I love every minute of it.
I love the excitement and the adrenaline. I love it.
I've been a NASCAR fan since first grade. My parents got me into the sport.
This is my first race. I am so excited.
I'll keep the ones who want me. Won't never let me go.
I'm an adventurous person, and we did own a few sports cars in my family. I just got mesmerized with it. This is more exciting than any other sport that I can think of.
Man, it's the vibe you get, man. Just waking up, you know you're going to be out all day. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fast. Oh, man, when the engines start roaring and stuff, you're like...
Been a NASCAR fan for years, didn't always understand it until I joined a Facebook group that has been teaching me. That's why it's so important to connect with people.
It's a good chance to everybody to coincide with one another and, you know, break bread, which is really great.
I've never seen these people in my life, and we were like, hey, cousin, can I hug you? I met some of my closest friends through the internet. Finally, for the first time, I don't feel alone watching the sport. Everybody can get involved with this sport.
So I'm still new to all of this, but like when we talk about representation matters and seeing people who look like you embracing a sport, that's where I connect.
People who look like us are everywhere. We make assumptions about where we belong, but these spaces are for everybody. Finally taking down those barriers, you know, one step at a time. And NASCAR is a sport for everybody, man. You know, everybody's welcome, and I'm seeing a lot of changes. If you expose people to something in the way that they can enjoy it, that's going to win every time.
Yes, we exist.
Yes, we exist.
Yes, we exist.
Yes, we do exist.
There is a party in the ATL today. Fans out there, 75 years of NASCAR celebrating it all year long. Busy but chilly day in Atlanta, about 40 degrees. Ludacris, man, he lied. He said it was hot. Let's head trackside for some driver interviews. Jamie Little, who have you caught up with?
Hey, Shannon, Christopher Bell, and he had an issue in qualifying yesterday, went around, so he'll start in the back, and I know you say this style of racing is perplexing. Is that how you feel about starting in the back here at Atlanta?
Yeah, I mean, if I picked a pretty good track to go to the back because this, you know, speedway racing, you get track position flips so easily, and if your stuff's driving good, especially here at the start of the race, I think you're able to move your way up pretty quickly. At least we were last year, so gonna be interesting. You know, the track is just extremely uneasy, and there's a huge lack of grip whenever the tires are cold, and especially whenever the track doesn't have any rubber. So I think what we see at the beginning of the race will be completely different than what we have at the end of the race. So just got to get our DeWalt Camry to see the checkered flag.
All right, good luck to you. Regan?
Well, Jamie, Austin Dillon starts 13th today. You're always so good at these drafting racetracks. But after you saw what happened yesterday in those two races, what are you expecting today?
Hopefully not more of that. We want less cautions, more green flag races. I like to say I'm good at speedways, but Atlanta, the speedway, has not been great to me. So we'll do what we can with our Andy's frozen custard Chevy. It's a great day for custard, I'll tell you that. Go get the 3 Creed at Andy's today, and we'll hopefully put that 3 car up front by the end of this thing and make something for the day.
I don't think ice cream will thaw out today. It's cold enough still for it. Jamie?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is cold, and William Byron's been the man on a mission the last 2 weeks, getting the win, and now you come back to a place that you went to victory lane a year ago. How you feeling about your car this time around, knowing more than you did this time a year ago?
Yeah, honestly, we don't really know a lot yet. You know, we'll know in the first few laps here, but I feel like we brought a good plan here, similar to last year, and I feel like we've got a good package to work around. So Liberty University Chevy should be fast, and we just gotta keep it up front. You know, it's going to be a little bit of track position, but also a lot of shuffling going on. And I think you guys are going to see a great race. So just excited to go out there and hopefully get 3 in a row.
Great race. That's all we're looking for. Regan?
Well, Kyle Buschmann off to a fast start with RCR. Does that continue today here at Atlanta?
I'd like to hope so. You know, we're really fast at Daytona, restrictor plate style race, but entirely different circumstances here this weekend in Atlanta, being 1.5 miles. Still restrictor plate style, but, you know, being 1.5 miles, it definitely lays a lot differently than that. So look forward to today. We'll see.
Hey, good luck. Don't miss driver intros. We don't want you to go to the back. Shannon.
No, we don't. Let the man go. All right, we're going to get some long shots for drivers who we might get to victory lane out there today. Larry, you're first.
Well, you might not look at a Daytona 500 champion as a long shot, but Austin Cindric qualified second. He did finish third in Atlanta last July. That's his only top 5 on a 1.5 mile racetrack. He has not led a lap this year, and he has had 3 finishes outside the top 20.
I like how Larry prefaced that. You might not think a Daytona 500 champ is a long shot, and you might not think mine, who has won a Cup championship and 35 Cup races, as a long shot. But I'm going to go with the guy we just heard from, Brad Keselowski. The track is going to get, we think, a little bit slicker today. He is good at drafting, but I think he'll also be able to manage the racetrack. I think Brad Keselowski.
Like Tony, you just want some of them Hawaiian biscuits.
I would like some of those, yeah, absolutely.
Listen, he's also really good at Talladega, isn't he? Really good at Talladega. We can get some rolls. Let's go back out to Chris. We just heard these long shots. What do you guys got?
Well, we'll take a look here at the board. We always like to show the favorites first. We're going to show the long shots first according to the numbers. I know Bubba Wallace is one of those. Anybody particularly jump out at you, Clint, to give us one?
I'm going with Austin Cindric. Plus 3,000, man. Starting up front, that 2-car blue oval. Fords are fast. Austin Cindric's my guy.
Hey, I got insider knowledge. Kevin Harvick likes his race car, feels like it's comfortable. I can't even believe he's on this side of the long shots, but I'll take him all day long.
I mean, Eric Almirola, 8th last summer here in Atlanta. 2 of his 3 career wins have come at super speedways. How about on the favorites board, Tony? We'll let you choose first.
I'll be honest, I like Kyle Busch. That guy has got the bit in his teeth. He's hungry. He's already had success this year, and he's comfortable, and he's going forward every race.
You literally asked the guy for Hawaiian rolls. Brad Keselowski was right next to you, and said that he's going to win the race. Did you not hear him? Brad Keselowski, my guy.
Anybody who comes by with food, Tony is going to
get excited.
Yeah, you're going to stop him and talk to him. All right, to the race. I want to hit 3 specific topics here. Let's start with drafting partners. You assume with the Fords are in good shape, but not so automatic.
Well, here's the thing. Forget partners. It gets to the end of this race. We already said very tight confines on a 1.5-mile track. What if I can't find that dancing partner? I'm not so sure that you can rely on dancing partners at this racetrack here today.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's as easy to get organized as it is at Daytona and Talladega. I think this is kind of you have to call audibles. You have to take chances when those opportunities present themselves.
Handling always important. Why is it such a factor, a difference maker here?
Because the track's tighter. I mean, it's 1.5 miles versus 2.5 miles and 2.66 miles at Daytona and Talladega. So handling's always been a factor here in Atlanta. It gets hot in the summer. Even when cars aren't running on it, this place loses grip.
This is what I like about this conversation, Chris. Which one do you want? You want this baby to go down the straightaway fast, or you want her to handle? Gotta be one. Pick one. Trying to find that happy medium is very difficult on all these teams at a track like this. We all know that Daytona's and Talladega's are super speedways. Those things are monsters. 1.5 mile racetrack, very tight, leaning on the wheel, very tight confines, narrow racetrack. You're going to need a little bit of both.
All right, and longest pit road now, and the entrance. How does that affect things? And talk about speeding penalties on pit road. That will come into play today.
Absolutely. I mean, so much to unroll here. Double the distance of pit road that we've ever had here. It's literally double. It's almost half of the racetrack, Tony. Navigating around those new waters, that's going to be tricky for these drivers.
Yeah, and the thing that we always see with these drivers is they push the envelope, they push the edge. They do not want to give up time on the entry and exit of pit road. You make a mistake today, it's probably going to cost you 2 laps. So you got to have risk versus reward. If you give up a little bit to make sure you're safe, you're probably in a better spot.
And sometimes crew chiefs push the rules, but more on that next time. All right, hey, Super 6, you got all the information. You've seen the odds. Help us out, Clint. Somebody's got to win this soon.
Guys, we got some good ones on here. Free to play. It's that simple. Go to your Fox Bet Super 6 app. Get on there. Put them picks in, baby. Come and get my cash. $10,000 on the line.
Make sure you scan that QR code and download the app. You have a chance to win $10,000. Jackpot is up big. Tony and Clint are going to head to the booth. Ryan Blaney, a good drafting super speedway driver, would love to come in here. There's Bubba Wallace. We just talked about him. We'll continue live as the driver introductions continue from Atlanta Motor Speedway. Glad you're watching NASCAR on Fox.
All right, pit road's open.
It's all about executing the pit stop here. Gotta execute.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are now witnessing Razel the Incredible.
Pit road open this time.
Now, you've heard of pit stop, but you've never heard one like this.
3, 2, 1,
This is the pit stop sounds.
Right side's on the track. 4 seconds of fuel going on the line. On the side.
Razel.
The old pit crew's hitting on all 8 cylinders, Mike.
The pit stop. The pit.
Tire. 3, 2, 1. Go. All the way. Go. Good work, chap.
The pit stop.
And the beat goes on here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Looking live there. Richard Petty, the king, and we're getting ready for the Ambetter Health 400. Temperature in the 40s on race day. The breeze kicking up a little bit. We are brought to you by Coca-Cola Zero Sugar. On the track, driver introduction taking place behind you. Tony and Clint, before they head to the booth, they have hung around to welcome a couple of guests, members of the Atlanta Falcons at one time. Warwick Dunn, also a great Tampa Bay Buccaneer, still does a lot here in the Atlanta area. And I says, yeah, and I'm going to say, I don't want to give Arthur Smith's job away here, but I think the starting quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons, Desmond Ridder, who got 4 games in last year, proved himself as we look forward to things ahead. You've both been to some NASCAR races before, related to what you do professionally in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, it's all a team sport. You know, you look around, you see the drivers, and then you see their pit crew. You know, they all got to work efficiently, all have to work within each other, and that's what we do on the football field. You know, it's a team sport. It takes more than one guy, and, you know, just working as a team to, you know, achieve a goal.
Yeah, and by the way, how tall is he? Makes us look like
he makes me look like a midget. I'm just saying, he's tall.
Yeah, you played a lot of years in the NFL, and it took a lot of tough hits. I imagine if you've been in a race car before, you can imagine what they go through.
Well, I can only imagine, but it also, like Desmond said, it's a team sport, and they have to rely on everyone else to do their job. So I think those guys, they really have to focus, understand, you know, the possibilities of what can happen when they're going around in the car. So it's a lot of things that go into it, and I tried to ask drivers earlier, like, what are you thinking about? I mean, do you have a strategy? And everybody has a strategy of how they want to approach the race and hopefully get victory at the end.
You know, one of the biggest parts of the equation and what makes good success on our racetrack is what happens on pit road. And anytime, Chris, we get a chance to have athletes like your guys on the set or at the racetrack, I love to ask you guys, when you watch a pit stop, I mean, we're talking 10 seconds, 4 tires, fill this baby full of fuel, maybe a wedge adjustment. You know, watching what these guys do, the athleticism within the pit crews, I can't wait to see you guys do that. I'm telling you right now, you're a tire changer, baby. We're going to have to put some pounds on you, boy, but I think you could be a jack guy.
He does a lot of work. Habitat for Humanity's built homes for single parents over the years, which is great work. Keep that up.
Cool.
Tony had a question about Arthur, your owner.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are talking about the teams and the drivers. Don't forget there's great owners here, and I got to work with the guy that is your great owner with Arthur Blank. What's he like to work with? I know he was great for our race team.
Yeah, I'll just speak from, you know, my previous experience this past year. You know, Mr. Blank's a great guy. He's in the locker room. He's hands-on with the guy, and he's personable. You know, he's going to come up to you, ask you how your day is going, make sure you and your family's doing well. And, you know, he's just a guy that cares for every single person, you know, not only that's playing on the field, but that has anything to do with the Atlanta Falcons.
Well, he's my partner, so I'm a limited partner of the Falcons. So, I mean, Mr. Blank cares about people. He cares about his players. He cares about the community. And I think he just saw me as an individual that he wanted to give an opportunity to become a limited partner. So I'm thankful for that, but I also understand the impact that he wants in the community of Atlanta. He does a lot in the community. I don't think he gets enough recognition for that as well.
Yeah, and he would love to see, you know, Falcon highlights in the playoffs. We love to show the NFL on Fox. But Clint does a thing here called Put It Out. It's some unusual highlights from NASCAR in and around racing. So we want you to hang with us and watch before they have to head up to the booth. Clint, you ready to go through this?
Yes, let's do it. Here we go.
Let's give it a shot.
Man, we got some good ones. Put It Out is back, ladies and gentlemen. Get that caution flag out. Seen a lot of Curtis Turner, 1967. Unbelievably flipping end over end, side by side, barrel rolling. I think he's still rolling, boys. Still to today. Right there, guys. It happened right there. Unbelievable. Put it out moment in the history of our sport. And then this one, 2010, Carl Edwards, Brad Keselowski that was on this flip. When I say he flipped him, I mean he flipped him, boys. Flipped him over. Look at here. Right there. You know who that guy is going, whoa, 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 where's he at? That's me trying to figure out where Brad Keselowski's going. Unbelievable wreck, and I mean right in my lap. Put it out. And then yesterday, the Xfinity race. They told my man to park it. You know where he did? He parked it on the front stretch and said, peace out, fellas. I'm out of here.
I don't care. What's he going to do? Find me? Can't afford to pay it.
This is the best line of the whole day. What are they going to do? Find me? Can't pay it anyway. My man won the day. Put it out moment. Josh Williams, appreciate the entertainment, but unlike Denny Hamlin, I ain't paying your fine.
Yeah, Denny Hamlin offered to pay. All right, well, thanks for, usually he's a little more low-key than this. Thanks for coming by. You have a great season, okay?
Of course, thank you.
Enjoy the race, Warwick.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Nice seeing you again.
I understand why you the way you are. I understand that now.
Yeah, if you ever want to be an announcer, you just scream a lot. All right, have fun in the booth. It's going to be a great race.
You guys being here.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go down the grid. And Michael Waltrip is standing by with the grid walk. Michael.
Chris, is cold, I'm telling you. Freezing. Caught up with Kevin Harvick, Piper, Keelan.
How's your boy doing in the racing series?
Well, he did fine. He did fine last night. We went to Florence, South Carolina. He finished 4th, so hopefully we can do as good today.
How about that? It's going to be fun. You just did a burnout on the big screen. You love this place. Yeah. Are you going to go Harvicken?
Well, I don't know that really matters anymore. We just need to go keep it rolling. That's the main goal today.
Good. When you race again, Keelan?
2 weeks in Italy.
Italy?
Yeah.
I raced in Italy once. I drove a Ferrari there. That was a lot of fun. I tell you what, last week I think I pulled my groin running from car to car, and this is the grid walk, and I'm going to walk today. Eric Amarola taking a team picture. Hi, everybody. How you doing? Welcome to the grid. How you feel today? I got questions. There's so many Fords up here. Are they handling good, or they just got a lot of power? What's going on?
All the above. Doug Yates brought us some serious horsepower here to Atlanta, and all of our cars drive good. I saw a lot of cars out of shape in qualifying, but it seemed like all the Fords drive really good. So hopefully that means we're going to have a good day today. But it is freezing, Michael.
Oh, no kidding.
Don't interrupt another photo again.
That's my fault. I'm not going to be invited back to his team. Hey, Blaney. How you doing, buddy? All over town. I see your face, your car, body armor's everywhere.
Yeah, it's awesome, isn't it? We got the new Sport Water car with body armor, and looks great. It'll look even better in Victory Lane, so we'll see. I've never been on a billboard before, too, so that was kind of cool.
I thought it was pretty cool, too. I'm slower today, not talking as fast. My face is about froze up on me.
Well, I'll tell you what. The ride around in the back of the pickup truck after intros, that was probably the coldest I've ever been in my whole life. So I'm really excited to get my race car and warm up a little bit.
Right on. We'll be back to Atlanta Motor Speedway. We're all freezing our butts off. Woo.
Live here in Atlanta, aerial coverage provided by Goodyear, powering every mile and every moment on NASCAR's road to victory. Goodyear, more driven.
All it took was 6 simple words for the rap game. And music as we knew it changed. Just 6 words.
The South got something to say.
The South got something to say. The South has always had its own groove. Always found its own rhythm. Our very own noise, organized or not. As a part of the Dungeon family, we not only continue the tradition, we made it ours. Andre 3000, Big Boy, called themselves Outcasts because that's who they were. And they always stayed true to who they were. It's because of that the people started to care what we had to say. We paved our own road from the Dungeon to the Grammys and everywhere in between. Today, these drivers are going to have to find their own road.
Green flag in Atlanta.
Their own groove to succeed. That's what they've done their whole careers. And how they got here is their own story. It's how NASCAR's always been. The biggest names in history of the sport were just outcasts of their own. The sport has changed the way music has. The drivers have changed the way rappers have. But the South is always going to stay the South, especially in Atlanta. And we are always going to have something more to say. Believe that.
The track is so fresh and so clean, the drivers might be yelling, hey, coming out of turn 4. Right now, our opening ceremonies.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we ask that you please rise as you are able and remove your hats as the American Legion Post 516 Honor Guard from McDonough, Georgia, presents our nation's colors. Please remain standing as Executive Officer of the City of Refuge, Atlanta, Georgia. Bruce Deal offers today's invocation.
Father God, we thank you for this day, for your many blessings, and for the gift of life. We ask now that your hand of protection rest on every driver, pit crew member, team member, race official, and spectator. We ask these things in the name of your Son and our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
And now here to perform our national anthem, please welcome Grammy-nominated 15-time platinum recording artist, Atlanta, Georgia's very own Blanco Brown.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's dawn's early light, we're so proudly we hailed as the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Which driver will hit the high note today? Thanks for being a part of NASCAR on Fox. Enjoy the race, everybody.
NASCAR on Fox welcomes you to the Ambetter Health 400 at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Yesterday, oh, what a show. It was a doubleheader. And in the Craftsman Truck Series, this pileup led to one of the closest finishes ever in the series. Christian Eckes from Middletown, New York, getting his second win. Well, same song, second verse in the Xfinity Series. Austin Hill going to victory lane by a margin of less than 1/10 of a second after all that. And last night in the 12 hours of Sebring, on the final lap after 12 hours, the three leaders all took each other out. What in the world? So welcome to Atlanta. Mike Joy, Hall of Famer Tony Stewart, and NASCAR star Clint Boyer on a track that's been reconfigured as a super speedway. So Daytona Talladega rules, no going below the double yellow line, that sort of thing. But here there is a sense of urgency because this track is not 2.5 or 2.66 miles around. It's only 1.5 miles. You got a mile each lap less to work with.
Urgency. Okay, where am I going, Mike? You just said it. It's shorter, 1.5 mile racetrack, tight confined, very narrow, 10 feet narrower than it used to be. So that sense of urgency becomes desperation towards the end. That's when somebody may try to go a 3-wide scenario, and then you see a lot of carnage at the end of the race, just like you saw in the truck race and the Xfinity race.
Well, before you get there, you got to have handling. You've got to figure out what line's moving the best, be there at the right time to get yourself to the front. But you got to watch pit road here. This is going to be very sketchy today. It is literally half the length of this racetrack, so mistakes can be very, very costly today. You might have to give a little bit up in time, but it's risk versus reward.
All right, coming to these stage ends, if you're not up in the top 10, if you're not in a line for stage points, where do you want to be?
Protecting yourself.
I want to be out. Find me a hole. Get me out of this thing. You don't want to be 15th to 20th because if something happens, again, tight confines of this racetrack, you're going to be in it for sure.
What a racetrack, taking this 1.5 mile oval, now a quad oval, and turning it into a super speedway. The speeds are up, and so are the risks the drivers will take, as we saw in 2 races here yesterday. Drivers are at the ready on a chilly spring Atlanta Sunday. Let's go trackside.
And now for the most famous words in motorsports, please welcome from Prime Video's On a Wing and a Prayer, streaming everywhere April 7th, actor Jesse Metcalf and your Georgia Bulldogs.
Drivers, start your engines.
Last year here, the Spring 500-miler won by William Byron, and a July 400-mile race, both with action aplenty.
There's a lot of history down here, between the trees. Back in the days of skill and space. That don't matter much now.
Here comes a pass for the lead.
It's a mile and a half of pure mayhem.
Just barely hanging on, and this might be the big one.
Here they come.
Side by side down the front straight.
Sharp banks into sudden turns. Bump drafting on a 3-wide straightaway.
You're clear.
Guts and gridlock at super speed. This might not be the track you remember, but you damn sure won't forget.
That's Atlanta, the site of today's 400-miler on a very chilly early spring day. Fords had the first 8 spots in qualifying, and Regan caught up with the pole sitter before he climbed aboard his.
Joey Logano preparing to lead the field to green today here in Atlanta. What do you have to do to make sure the 22 car has the same clear view that it has at the beginning of the race at the end?
I'm unsure, and I think that's probably how the whole field feels like right now. At the cooler temperatures, it's breezy out. Obviously, we've changed a lot of things to our race cars since the last time we were here, and so it's a bit of an unknown. Even what you need for choose rule, what we're going to need for strategy, and what this Auto Trader Mustang is going to drive like in the pack. Nobody knows, so we just got to be ready to evolve and change as we keep going.
Good luck, Joey. Thanks. Mike?
Remember, no practice, just the laps of qualifying yesterday to prepare for today's race. Let's take a look at today's starting grid, sponsored by Better Health. Joey Logano on pole, his second pole of the season, and his Penske Racing teammate Austin Cindric, the Daytona 500 winner a year ago. The third Penske driver, Ryan Blaney, inside of row number 2, trying to end a long winless streak, and Brad Keselowski with a great qualifying run. Eric Almirola finished 8th here last July, and Kevin Harvick, who is the point leader. Row number 4, Chris Buescher, best finish of 23, 4th in the Daytona 500, and Chase Briscoe coming off his best finish of the season, 7th at Phoenix. Here's row 5, and the first non-Fords are Kyle Larson Chevrolet and Christopher Bell's Toyota. Here's Brad Keselowski's season, and look at this turnaround compared to last year over the first 4 races. Half again as many laps in the top 5 and triple as many laps in a top 10 position as 1 year ago, Clint.
Well, let's just go to the source, boys. Brad Keselowski, it's Boyer and the boys up in the Fox Sports booth. You got us?
Claims it off.
May have stepped on me. I'm going to try it one more time. Brad Keselowski, it's Boyer and the boys up in the booth. You got us?
Yes, sir. What's going on?
Man, you are. This racetrack, not so hot Atlanta, but 8 very fast Fords, 8 out of the top 10 in this qualifying session. You're 4th, your teammates right behind you. What is the strategy play here? Is it a dance-a-partner game like we see at Daytona Talladega, or is it every man for himself?
I think you got to do whatever you can, Clint, to stay up front the whole race, but know that you're probably going to get cycled at some point with the fuel strategy, and try to avoid a green flag pit stop at all costs. You're going to lose so much time. So the best thing you do and the safest place to be is up front, but easier said than done.
All right, well, you told us all in the pre-race. It's your day, man. I think you're poised for it. Cars have been good. Good luck out there.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Well, today's race comes with another chance to win $10,000 of Clint's cash for free. It's Fox Bet Super 6. Just download the free Super 6 app on your phone and enter your 6 predictions for today's race. Download Fox Bet Super 6. Start playing for free. Well, let's get some chilly last-minute updates from Pit Road and our crew chief. Let's begin with Jamie Little.
Well, Mike, for the first time in history, Penske Racing qualified 1, 2, and 3. Austin Cindric in the 2, his best qualifying effort since October of last year. Remember, this team is very good on these drafting style of racetracks. He won the Daytona 500 last year, and I just talked to him before he got in his car, and he said, hey, this car is obviously very fast. If we can get it driving well, we are going to be dangerous. Keep your eye on the 2. Regan Smith?
Well, Jamie Little, it has been an interesting week for Hendrick Motorsports. Of course, all 4 crew chiefs on their teams have been suspended, but perhaps the most easy transition of all of them was that of the 48 car and Alex Bowman. What they had to do was call in Blake Harris's place Greg Ives, the team's former crew chief, who has been with Alex for a number of years leading up to this. An easy transition for these guys. Greg told me his job today is to simply keep things that are in place normal for Greg or for Alex in the race car. It'll be a simple day. Otherwise, for him, the one transition is he's actually sitting on the opposite side of the pit box of what he normally would. A little bit of a different view for him, Larry Mack.
Yeah, Regan, pit road can be a difference maker every single week. It may be a strategy call like we saw at Phoenix. It may be a fast pit stop, but it might be a mistake. In the first 4 races this year, we've had 26 pit road speeding penalties. Kyle Busch alone has had 3. This is now the longest pit road on the schedule at 45 miles per hour. I think the speeding police will be in full force. And to follow up on Brad Keselowski, you make a green flag pit stop, even if you're the leader, you'll be 2 laps down.
Thanks, Larry. Yes, with the reconfiguration, NASCAR decided this year to put the commit line and the entrance in a different place. Instead of turn 4 just before the entrance to pit road where you could drop down off the banking and in with the high speeds now, you must commit and go to the apron at turn 3, adding 2,300 feet to the length of pit road. So green flag pit stop is going to take you 2 laps here.
Don't make mistakes there.
It's the only thing you can't afford to do. You get caught speeding 2 laps down, your day is all but over.
Let's talk to one more driver before we get rolling here. Tony?
We saw Christopher Bell yesterday in qualifying. He had a very eventful day, so let's ring him up here and see how he's feeling today. Spins out, turn 3, coming to the green. Didn't even get to the green flag there. Spins out, look how rough. Look at his head in the car. And when it snapped, it was gone. Couldn't catch it. Let's give him a ring. Hey, Christopher Bell, Tony Stewart, and the guys in the booth, you got me?
He's on channel 2.
The wrong one there, Tony.
Christopher Bell, Tony Stewart, and the guys in the booth, you got us, bud?
I got you.
Hey, buddy, wild ride yesterday. Very eventful qualifying session. Looked like you were getting beat to death in the race car with the shocks. What about today? How do you rebound from this, and what's the outlook for the race?
Yeah, I'm actually feeling pretty positive about it. You know, yesterday, obviously it was bouncing really bad, but I don't think that has any bearing on what I'm going to have today during the race. So the DeWalt Camry showed speed, and that leaves me optimistic for today as long as we can get it driving good, which I know Adam and the boys are putting a tune on it already.
All right, buddy. Well, take care of that thing. Work your way up there slow and patient, man. We'll see you at the end.
Yes, sir. Hope to make this 20 car proud for you.
Well, it is a chilly day here in Atlanta. Don't let that bright sunshine fool you. It's only 44 degrees here, and that steady breeze out of the northwest, that's a bone-chilling breeze. Here's Joey Logano and team.
All right, guys, 400 miles, a lot of crazy things going to happen here. We try to maintain track position, maximize our day, get our points where we can, race for at the end. You got it, man. We're ready. Good luck.
A lot of nerves going into a race like this. It's just different. Daytona, Talladega is always different than any other one, but this one in particular, you talk to these drivers, there's not a lot of room out there on a 1.5 mile racetrack. We've talked about it, we've grinded it into you. I'm telling you, even from the view, Tony, when you get up here in the booth and look down, she's pretty narrow out there.
Well, when they reconfigured this racetrack and added banking to it, the only way to do it was to take the apron and move it out to get the banking. You didn't pick up the outside of the racetrack, you just moved the inside further out, which made it narrow.
Pace car on pit road. 400 miles, new distance for the spring race, and the green flag's in the air.
The old crossover worked already. We've seen that a lot of times. Logano and his team, his teammate Austin Cindric let him up. I think you're going to see them maybe migrate out. I think the line is very interesting on this racetrack. I don't think you want to be caught in that bottom lane very long.
Oh, Blaney moves up in front of Keselowski to stop the advance of the outside lane.
It also puts those 3 teammates right in a row.
Penske 1, 2, 3.
As we see with the leaders there, as soon as he made that move, his teammates in front of him made the same move to keep those three tied together.
It's risky. We talked about it. Qualifying. Two guys literally spun out in qualifying. The last time these guys were in these cars, they were a handful in qualifying trim.
Right, B.J. McLeod and Christopher Bell both spun on their qualifying attempt before taking the green. Fords 1 through 8, Larson Chevy in 9th, Hamlin the first Toyota in 12th.
The Toyotas are what I'm going to have my eye on today. Talked about the speed in the Fords. It's pretty obvious. Look at them. 8 out of the top 10 right there. 2 Chevrolets, a Ford. Chevy, you got to look clear back to Hamlin in 12th. You just said. I think he's going to figure it out, though. He had a lot of optimism in that pre-race with us out there on the front stretch.
Half in front. Half.
Driver's eye camera on Denny Hamlin. 137 beats per minute. His baseline heart rate 53.
He told us in the pre-race show he thought that was going to be a lower number than that. I don't think he realizes how much they get amped up. This is definitely unique. This is one of those places that you have to be on your toes. There's no time to relax. There's no time to catch your breath. You have got to be on your toes the whole day.
Well, whether you're a long distance runner, a trainer, working out in the gym, you know your heart rate and what the difference maker that makes. Do you imagine having 140 to 160 heart rate for 3-4 hours here? That's a game changer. You don't realize it, though. Like you said, Tony, when you're in that car and you're grinding and working and moving and using your mind, you don't focus or think about the fact that your heart rate is just about as fast as that old car is going on the racetrack.
5 laps, and almost everybody had migrated up to the top side of the racetrack. That's Harvicking on the bottom.
That's right.
That's his favorite place here at Atlanta. He's been very successful here in the old configuration. He could run the bottom better than anybody.
Well, and the other thing is, much like we see at Daytona, Talladega, when they get stretched out and they're all in one lane, there starts to be, slack in the chain, holes in the links. And if you can fill one of those, get you a run and fill that hole, that's the key. But the problem is, if you don't get up, you're in trouble, just like we're seeing with Kevin. He's going to need some help.
Micah McDowell coming in the low. He was leading the low lane. Chastain on the left, Hamlin on the right from the driver's eye, and Harvick backing up.
Finally get some help there, Kevin. Backed up to probably 10th place, getting a run. Got that bumper of McDowell pushing him, and now she takes back off.
And I think part of that is these guys, like you mentioned, have not had practice. So how are you going to learn what you can and can't do? You just got to experiment, and this is a good time to do it early in the race.
So we asked NASCAR about no practice at Daytona, Talladega, and here at Atlanta, the 3 super speedways, and they said it was at the request of the team owners. So, team owner, tell us about it.
Yeah, it's just literally the cost to operate these race teams is so high. Being able to take that practice day out saves the teams a lot of money. And it's more than just the race cars. It's hotels, it's rental cars. All those things add up during the season. So these guys know what to do. They know when they go to Talladega and Daytona what they've got to do in the car.
Sorry, buddy, I'm a race fan. Don't care about what it costs. I want to be entertained. And here's where I'm going to say to part of this equation. Show me where extra practice time puts on a better product. In my opinion, it doesn't. Don't want to talk about cost. None of my business. But the simple facts are practice don't make a difference.
Well, and it actually got to where we didn't run in big packs in practice anymore. We picked our teammates, we went out with our teammates, and that was it. So practice wasn't a good show. It wasn't a good product for the fans.
Kyle Busch back in 18th position, right about, oh, trouble.
Bubba Wallace in the wall. Way too early for this, 10 laps in.
Happened midway down the back straightaway. First caution of the day.
Oh, he's stuck too.
I see it. Right side tires, man.
Hit your commitment line back here. Yeah, that's on the splitter. 10-4. I'll get you a push.
It's like he got loose on the outside of Kyle Busch. Don't really know why. The outcome is he's loose and in the wall in the backstretch off of 2.
Wallace was running 19th.
Yeah, all by himself. And early in the race like that, he probably knew before that instant that he was loose and was probably having to guard it. He probably moved to the top side, not only for the speed, but if your car's loose, you move up, you're not tugging on the wheel quite as hard.
Here's his DoorDash onboard cam.
You hear him pedaling it. That baby come out from underneath of him. You heard him starting to pedal it with the throttle. The rest is history. Turned him right around. Now you're going to hear a lot of frustration if they open that radio.
You're watching his hands right here on the steering wheel. Oh, big correction to the right.
You see him reach down and kick it out of gear. That was a good move. Has his foot on the clutch, trying to save the car, save the engine. Unfortunately, ended up on the wall.
NASCAR on Fox is sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Save when you bundle auto, home, or motorcycle insurance. And by Ford. Built for America. Working the first caution of the day for Bubba Wallace's spin as you watch our aerial coverage provided by Goodyear, powering the race from green flag to checkered flag and every mile in between. Goodyear, more driven. Nobody headed for pit road where Bubba Wallace sits. A few in the back. Looks like about 8 cars in the back will come in. Now the damaged vehicle policy, which is normally 7 minutes for teams to make repairs and get their car back up to minimum speed after a crash. Teams were told in the drivers' meeting that here at Atlanta they will have 8 minutes rather than 7 due to the added length of pit road and the time it takes for a car to get back to the pits.
That just tells you how much they've added to pit road. They've added a whole minute to the damaged vehicle policy. A lot of those guys you saw pitting, some of them were probably on a pit sequence, but I'm going to tell you, a lot of them were doing exactly what Bubba's car was doing. Not happy with their car and wanting some adjustments.
Ryan Preece, Ricky Stenhouse, Martin Truex, Corey LaJoie, and others will pit under this caution flag. Big story of the week, Hendrick Motorsports. Penalties last week at Phoenix. Before anyone was on track, the hood louvers that exit air. There were the point standings after Phoenix, after the penalties. All 3 of those full-time Hendrick drivers, Chase Elliott sidelined with injury, dropped, and the crew chiefs were suspended for 4 races for modifying the louvers, which are a single source part not to be modified by the teams. Biggest combined fine to any one organization in NASCAR history. Jeff Gordon spoke on the pre-race about it, and here are the substitute crew chiefs for this week, some with much experience: Kevin Meendering, Tom Gray, Brian Campy, and Greg Ives, who Regan pointed out was last year the crew chief for Alex Bowman, now back up on the box.
I think this one's going to be an interesting week. Honestly, I think we ought to just cover this hearing live. I want to see it live on Fox, and I'm going to tell you, I think that there's a chance they get a reduction here. The last time we had one of those penalties, $100,000 and 100 points, was right here at Atlanta, and it was Brad Keselowski and RFK Racing on the 6th. And that was after the race, by the way. You take this back to last week, they didn't even compete. They caught this thing before practice. They showed it to them. They took them after practice, long before they ever competed in qualifying in the race. It'll be interesting.
There's been quite a dialogue back and forth between NASCAR and the teams about some of these single source parts and the quality and the fit and whether new parts are in the pipeline. So notice that all of the Penske teams chose the same lane for this restart, outside. And to Tony's request, so that this looks like a lineup card that we're used to seeing, we'll do it differently next week.
Well, that's the battle between a driver's perspective and a cameraman's perspective. He sees it one way and we see it the other.
That was pretty funny.
Well played.
All right, we listened in.
Float dead on exit behind.
10-4, is it progressively getting any worse or kind of just been that way the whole time?
Yeah, 10-4 whole time. Was actually kind of getting better. If tire grip gets better, it might be okay. But cold tire there, it was not gripped enough to hold the aero effect.
You see Andy Petrie and everybody on that box, the crew chiefs, the engineers, sponsors behind them. But Andy Petrie, I circled it right there, shows just how cold it is here. Very cold.
Looks like they're going hunting. They're dressed for it. All right, ready for the restart. Green flag, penalty to Ryan Preece. He starts out back. His team was over the wall too soon, and Bubba Wallace entered the pits when they were closed.
New sheriff in town. Who's that 5 car? Where'd he come from, Tony? Got a Chevrolet up there amongst these Fords.
Well, because a lot of the Fords took the outside lane for the restart. That gave Larson an opportunity.
That's exactly right, and why we like it.
We're going to add the choose at COTA next week. The choose rule is going to be in effect in road courses, too.
Choose rule implemented in the super speedways this year and the road courses played a role in the Daytona 500 finish. I really do believe that. It was a decision made and played a role in it, and I think it will again here today.
I think it's something that's been a positive change. I think it's been neat to see guys that want to take a chance and advance their position on the restart, where guys get passive and they like the group they're in, they just stay in that side. But I like the risk takers, the guys that want to take a chance. You get a couple spots on a restart and then you get a caution. Now you're in a way better position.
Well, look at the difference it made with Kyle Larson, obviously, and then look down on the bottom. Here comes Denny Hamlin. That Toyota we were talking about back there in 12th. That Toyota's slowly but surely marching methodically to the front.
Hamlin, the only Toyota in the top 15. Tyler Reddick is 17th. Reddick not feeling well this morning, excused from the drivers' meeting. John Hunter Nemechek standing by in case Reddick needs relief today. Christopher Bell plus 11.
Whoa.
All clear, half fast.
That's how it accordions on these super speedway drafting style track. You heard a big time lift out of them. Start stacking up ahead of you. That spotter that you heard in your ear, he's the one that has to show. You can't see, Tony, 4 cars in front of you, but he can.
Yeah, you can't even see one car. You see the car in front of you. You don't see the car in front of that one. So it is hard. You have to have that trust and faith in those spotters.
That line stalls in front of Corey LaJoie, the Celsius onboard cam. And here's Ty Gibbs, who got into the wall in qualifying, had to start out back, as did Christopher Bell. Bell qualified 10th, but they had to replace the strakes under the car when he spun off track down to the apron on his round 2 qualifying attempt. So he also had to start out back. That's why Bell is our biggest mover so far.
So there's no doubt.
Outside.
There's no doubt that outside line is the preferred line. But we talked about the tight constraints of this racetrack. Tony, how do I get to the front if I'm in the back? You're going to have to move down and make some hay on that bottom lane.
Well, first you've got to have a good driving race car. If your car is balanced, it gives you the flexibility to move that bottom line. There's a bunch of these guys right now early in the race that haven't pitted yet because of such a short amount of time under green that their cars probably don't drive really great right now. So the guys that have good handling cars have the ability to move around and take those chances. You talked about it. Once the accordion opens up a little bit and you get holes, you'll get in there.
Let's go to Jamie Little on our leader.
Well, Mike, the big question coming in was, okay, these Fords and Penske in particular qualified great, but how will they race? Well, I talked to Joey Logano's crew chief, Paul Wolf, about that subject, and he said, hey, we all have different noses. Every manufacturer went down a different way. This year, he said the nose that we have on the car allows us to lower it for qualifying, be fast there, raise the nose, and have good adjustments and a better reaction from the race car. Because of that, they thought this car was going to drive really well. And so far, no issues, nothing on the radio from Joey.
He's about to have his first challenge for the lead. Hamlin up the inside, 3 wide behind them for fourth rather.
This Kyle Larson is not wanting to follow the leader and follow in line. He's going to make some moves, obviously 3 wide because of one of those moves. It shows you there's grip in these cars. Pretty comfortable running 3 wide so far.
Makes me nervous this early in the race, though.
You need to be in like 4 inches of the car beside you and the other car on the other side of you at 180 miles an hour. Is that what you're talking about?
Exactly.
Wow.
They won't run 3 wide if their cars don't feel good. So that's a sign how good these guys' cars are driving early in the race.
184 miles an hour that last lap, 3 wide for third here in Atlanta. Joey Logano has led every one of 24 laps under green so far.
Enjoy an ice-cold Coke Zero Sugar as you cheer on your favorite Coca-Cola Racing family member. You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
NASCAR on Fox is sponsored by the Credit One Bank NASCAR American Express card. And by Verizon Frontline, built for 5G, built to make a real difference on the front lines. 29 laps complete. Joey Logano has led them all. Still right in front of outside pole sitter Austin Cindric and Ryan Blaney, his Penske teammates. Here's the Coca-Cola Racing family of drivers, led by, of course, Logano. With Hamlin in 6th, still fighting on the inside. Austin Dillon 14th. Daniel Suarez 23rd. Bubba Wallace, the only car laps down, spun and hit the wall on lap 10. Booty Barker's crew made repairs. He's back out there, but 2 laps down. All other 35 cars on the lead lap here.
Guys, I'm watching, the pack where we're running. Really no surprises at the front of the field with the Fords. After the Ford dominance in qualifying with the 3 Penske cars leading the field, Keselowski was fast. We talked about him, Hamlin, Chastain, Bell, some of these guys that when I watched these races back from a year ago, even the super speedways, even Daytona, the 500, Chastain and that Trackhouse bunch, some of these guys towards the back of the pack, they're in trouble. They're needing a pit stop to get some adjustments, I'm thinking.
Christopher Bell grabs another spot. Regan?
Well, Mike, Tyler Reddick, as you mentioned earlier in the race, not feeling very good right now, and a little bit of struggle inside that race car with the handling. Been complaining about a very tight race car, especially up top, as you see him sliding back in the pack some right now. And John Hunter Nemechek, who is the driver on standby for him, he is standing on top of the pit box. He is fully suited up and ready to go if need be, but the team told me they will not ask Tyler about it at all today. It's up to him completely.
Look at that heart rate. Only 110 beats per minute at 188 miles an hour.
Well, you don't feel good.
Oh, okay.
And it's pretty calm right now. This is the calm before the storm, but this is the calm that I expected, quite frankly. All these Cup drivers, these are the best of the best that NASCAR has to offer in the Cup Series. They just watched yesterday's racing. Truck Series, still learning. A lot of rookies out there. Xfinity, the same thing. There was some melees out there, yard sales. They were wrecking left and right all over the place. These guys see that, need to clean this thing up, get these things to the end of the race. They want to be a part of that win, not the part of the crash at the beginning.
Now, of the drivers that made pit stops at the lap 10 caution, 2 have made substantial gains. Ty Gibbs up to 18th and Martin Truex up to 13th in his Toyota. Now right on the bumper of Christopher Bell for the 2 leading Toyotas in this race. Chevy's 8, 9, 10. Hamlin, in 5th. Otherwise, Fords. 6 out of the top 7.
I'm watching Truex Jr. there, and I think he's taking advantage. He was one of the guys we saw him put 4 tires on and get that adjustment that he was looking for. One of the only cars, in that tail end of the pack that took some adjustments and took advantage of that pit stop. Moving to the front made a difference.
I'm still mesmerized by the guy in 11th with Christopher Bell, starting from the back, has not made a pit stop. Had a car that was extremely difficult to drive, as we saw yesterday in qualifying, and has worked his way up to 11th already. Look at his head here today versus yesterday. His head was bouncing around like a ping pong ball. They definitely made the right adjustments today. He's definitely comfortable. I've been watching him. He picks that low line when he gets a run and finds that hole and gets himself up there again.
Well, Tony, you're spot on, but one of the other guys, and you're not going to want to hear this, your car, 14, Chase Briscoe, he's definitely off the pace, not happy with his car. Something's going on with the 14, moving to the back. Lost 19 spots just in the last few laps.
Regan?
Well, Mike, you guys mentioned that 14 car right now, and he has got a lot going on. The front is tight, the rear is sliding, and he said he thinks it's all aero. Not really sure how they're going to fix that for that race car today right now, but he is struggling out there. Sorry about that, Tony.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Regan. Thank you. I appreciate everyone's concerns, and Well wishes.
38 laps complete. The Penske Fords, 1, 2, 3. Logano, Cindric, Blaney. Okay. Welcome back to the Am Better Health 400 on Fox. Joey Logano has led every lap today, 44 of them. That is more laps than he has led in every race so far in this season. Austin Cindric, Ryan Blaney right with him, then Keselowski. Hamlin, the first Toyota, in 5th. And Kyle Busch up into the top 10. He's the first Chevy in 7th. It was Kyle Larson, but no more. Kyle made this move, and look at the result.
Well, he made the move. Okay, didn't work. Get me up, spotter. I need to get up. I need to get in that line. Having trouble. No holes there. Here comes Busher by. Busch by. Trying to side draft Tony. Maybe a little bit of hole here. Nope. Look how long it takes. If you make that move and it doesn't work, you don't fill that gap and get in that slot, you're in big trouble. Freight train comes by you. Give me a hole, spotter. Where's the hole? Now watch this. Look at that stack up on the outside. There's the hole. Fixed it. But the stack up.
Thank you.
Take me back to the stack up, though. That's all it takes to really shake things up. Always have to be on your game inside that car, but more importantly on the roof. These guys, they're earning their keep as a spotter today.
So Larson is now back up to 9th, but he's still on the bottom now. He's going backwards again, and a lot of this is...
Whoa! Did you see the 10 car? Sorry, that was big. Yes, man. Take your breath away. I want to see his heart rate monitor. Eric Almirola, the Stewart Haas cars in general, all of these cars. You heard us talk about Chase Briscoe already, but his teammate Almirola's off the pace. The 4 cars off the pace. Their package they come up with that they thought was going to be the heat. It was yesterday with the speed, but so far, 48 laps in, they have a handful.
And a lot of this back and forth is due to drafting. Let's take a closer look with Larry Mack and the Toyota Cutaway car.
Even though we're at a 1.5-mile racetrack today at Atlanta Motor Speedway, the speeds these cars are running, you'll be able to see them work together in a draft. So to explain the draft, let's go to our Toyota Cutaway car and our Toyota Tech Center. This is what a car out front looks like as far as the airflow, making front downforce and rear downforce. It's poking a pretty big hole in the air, so that trail car that's starting to approach it, it's starting to feel the effect of the air coming off that lead car. The closer it gets, it starts to take rear downforce off the lead car, front downforce off the trail car. As they get this close together, they're almost working as one unit. The more cars you can get lined up in a draft, the faster they're going to go. And Mike, one thing about that lead car, the reason it's poking such a big hole in the air is that big old 7-inch tall rear spoiler.
Thanks, Larry Mack. The top 5 drivers in this race have 20 wins on NASCAR's drafting tracks. And there is the spoiler cam, the Monster Energy cam on board Ty Gibbs.
No gaps up front, the ratchet, no gaps out back, the slide back in.
10 laps to go in stage 1. They have enough fuel to go the distance, and we'll take one Fox side-by-side break right here.
I got a heart like a truck. It's been drugged through the mud. Runs on dreams and gasoline. And that old highway holds the key. It's got a leg foot down when it's leaving. Lord knows it's taking a hell of a beating. I got a
When you drive a Ram, you drive with heart.
The Eagle has landed. That's one small step for man.
Hey, what's up?
Houston, we have a situation. How did you get here?
Your character's in our video game.
Video game?
Yeah, it's what we do with Xfinity 10G. It's like, you know, the best network imaginable.
What the heck is that?
Those are the bad guys.
Are they friendly?
The 10G network, only from Xfinity. One giant leap for mankind.
All right, everybody, it's 2 of any of these for just $6.
Can you get a Dave single with a 10-piece nug?
Yeah.
How about 2 Dave singles for $6? And that's class.
Sit down, Toby.
Sorry.
Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's 2 for $6.
Ashley's anniversary mattress sale is going on now. Celebrate decades of restful nights with 0% interest for 5 years. Bring home a Tempur-Pedic or Stearns & Foster mattress starting at $34 per month. Or a Purple hybrid mattress from $35 per month. Only at Ashley.
Oh, okay. Easy does it.
We switched to Liberty Mutual and saved $652. They customize your car insurance, so you only pay for what you need. With the money we saved, we thought we'd try electric unicycles. Careful, babe. Saving was definitely easier.
I think I got it. It's actually...
Okay, show off. Oh. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Gillette presents the Gillette Labs with Exfoliating Bar. The bar and the handle removes unseen dirt and debris that gets in the way of the blades for effortless shaving in one efficient stroke. All with a lifetime warranty. And if you want to keep the beard, use King C Gillette, a lineup of products designed to cleanse, soften, trim, and style for your best beard. Gillette, the best a man can get.
The action doesn't get much closer than a weekend at Richmond Raceway. Just 10 minutes from downtown, this track packs it in. Get your tickets now at richmondraceway.com.
You could come up, really.
Welcome back to Atlanta. This is our new Fox Race Tracker up at the top, and I'd like to hear what the keyboard warriors think. This shows you the progress of the race in bar graph form as it goes along. It's going to morph over underneath the Fox box so you can tell at a glance where we are and how the race has progressed with just the one caution flag so far. Kind of get used to it, and let me know what you think on it. You know where to find me on social media.
Well, I think it's good because look, it just shows you so much. You know, as we cover, you know how many laps to go to the stage, you know where the stages are. More importantly, strategy-wise, you know where those cautions came out. That's what I like about that bar and the way I use the tool.
Brad Keselowski holding fourth behind the team he used to drive for. Here are the points coming in. Kevin Harvick, the overall point leader. And then everybody is stacked by wins and then by points from there on back.
All right, talking about points. Coming to 2 to go in this stage. Business is fixing to pick up going after these stage points. Watch this.
So far, only Larson and Harvick have really ventured to the bottom to try to make passes, and they've certainly had mixed results. Good for a while and then would fall back in the group. Right now, the 10th place car is Daniel Suarez. He would get the last stage point.
Well, much like you see in Daytona, you see that chain getting bigger. Everybody says, hey, that guy's coming, move down. Now all of a sudden that lane gets bigger and bigger and bigger as you get the closer you get to the front, just like you see Bell holding the charge right now. Who else is going to take that? Here it is, Tony.
Final lap, stage 1.
Those teammates door to door for second.
Blaney trying to make an advance here, but he's on the bottom. Keselowski edges him in the corner, and then Hamlin
made a move, and his teammate Cindric didn't go with him.
Here they come to the line. Joey Logano, who's led every lap so far, is going to win stage 1 from Cindric, Keselowski, Blaney, and Hamlin. The other stage points go to Bell, Buscher, Suarez, and Truex. First stage win of the year. And at Atlanta, Joey Logano's led all 60 laps. This is the football you live for, the real deal. Official start of the new season of the USFL is April 15th and 16th on Fox, FS1, and NBC. Stage 1 complete. Joey Logano, the leader, ahead of Austin Cindric and Brad Keselowski, waiting for the pits to open. There are the points as they were awarded at the end of stage 1. And Bubba Wallace, the only car laps down, he will get the free pass.
Pit area is going to be tough. No mistakes. Long, long, long pit road. Kind of puts me behind the wheel, Tony. Very difficult I mean, it's literally double what it used to be. Half this racetrack, half of a 1.5 mile racetrack is pit road.
Can you imagine how antsy these drivers are going to be when they peel off and cross that commitment line? How long it is going to seem.
Well, one of the drivers that marched toward the front was Kyle Busch, restarted 17th and currently running 7th. Let's listen in.
So where everybody's at on fuel here, all those guys in front of you are going to need to take even more fuel. Drop the jack down. You're going to go on not the jack, okay? I want to get it full here so we don't have to put near as much in it. It looks like if it's going to go green flag, that's going to be a lot longer. You're going to have to spend on pit road under green, so I'd rather get it full here.
Fantastic point. And that's a product of being back in the pack, you know, utilizing that where you're lifting a little bit, saving fuel, as opposed to Logano, Cindric, and his teammate Blaney. They were up there wide open throttle the whole time. They're going to have to take a lot of fuel right here, more than the guys mired in traffic.
Well, last week, the top of the pits, Kyle Larson's team. And what a day they had. Every pit stop, they either held station or gained positions. Their crew chief is Cliff Daniels. Under suspension, the interim crew chief, Kevin Mendering. But the over-the-wall crew, Blaine Anderson, Brandon Harder, Brandon Johnson, and all there, they got it done last week in the desert in Phoenix.
That's all you can ask for. Put me out front, give me an opportunity. They did that. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for them, but they've been knocking on the door 2 weeks in a row. They were so close.
Pit stop rankings led by Kevin Harvick's team overall for the season so far. That long looping apron is all part of pit road, 45 miles an hour.
We see all the drivers lined up on the right side to the outside. If depending on where you're at, or if you're on the inside or outside, it's going to change the distance, which is going to also change the pit road speed. So those guys, when they do the recon lap, they figure that out.
Regan.
Mike, it's been a great start for Chris Buescher. His team had some concerns about where that race car would be after 10 laps because of how fast it was in qualifying. No concerns right now for him. He will wait on fuel, and Kyle Busch, you heard them saying that they're going to wait on fuel. This was part of their plan coming into the race, was to get as much fuel as they could every stop. Jamie?
Austin Cindric in the 2. Jeremy Bullins, his crew chief, calling him in and out of the pits. Car is pretty good. Wait on fuel, 4 tires. Joey Logano in the 22. Car got better balance as they ran. He's led every lap so far today, Mike.
Well, here's the race off pit road, sponsored by Ram. Kyle Busch is out first. However, Kyle Busch has had speeding penalties in 3 of 4 races this season, and I can only hope that that one had the right number of lights lit up on the dash that time.
Big reason why. We heard it. We heard the conversation on the radio of Kyle Busch. His crew chief told him, we're going to take less fuel than those guys up there. It's exactly what you saw out front, Kyle Busch.
We've come a long way in 125 years. From dirt tracks to super speedways and every track in between. Never backing down, pushing boundaries and giving it everything we've got. Yeah, we've come a long way, but there's still a lot more road to run. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR.
One sign of spring, you're home for Saturday baseball. MLB on Fox. All season long, the biggest stars and teams square off in the biggest games on the best day of the week. Major League Baseball action returns Saturday, April 1st on Fox. Kyle Larson's stop. A little bit of upset there.
Whoa, whoa, get that fuel jug. Look at that guy blocking it.
Nice save.
Stayed in the box. Good save, boys.
Now, we talked about Kyle Busch's stop, and he was the first car off pit road. They were going to have a timed stop and wait on the fuel can to make sure they got it full. However, they said Kyle took off. And that's why he is the leader, but questionable whether or not he has a full load of race fuel.
Well, we know somebody that can tell us. Potentially.
Andy Petrie. We'll try to get to him in a bit here.
See if I can get him on the radio.
On the box. Brad Keselowski next to Kyle Busch. Blaney, Cindric, Logano, 3-4-5 as they approach the Geico restart zone. Truex, Hamlin, Bell, Buescher, Suarez, the top 10. as we go back to green.
Lone wolf up there, Kyle Busch. Let's see what he can do. No dancing partner. Ford surrounding him. Toyota down there in Truex. How does he manage this? Big time gap for both of these cars. Good connection, both lanes.
A big run on that outside, those two tied together.
Logano got off the bumper at Keselowski. Keselowski needs to get up here. Huge run by Truex on the bottom.
One lap and the amount of cars that move from that bottom lane to the top. I mean, those guys know that early in this race, that line is the line that's moving right now. They're trying to get up there and get that spot.
Not a good feeling, Tony. Leading this race in that Chevrolet, Kyle Busch. 1, 2, 3, 4 Fords behind you, but they're not going to stay in line. Logano going around Keselowski, going to try to get in that line. Better get up quick. Filled, no chance, didn't get it done.
Keselowski fills the spot on the outside, and then here comes Austin Cindric. So Logano down in that bottom lane.
Power move by Ryan Blaney.
Tried to come down and give a little draft to Logano to catch up, and then came back up to cover the spot. Larry Mack, I'm wondering, was Logano's stop a little longer because after leading all those 60 laps, he had burned more fuel maybe and had to replenish it?
Yeah, Mike, there's no doubt he was the one driver that was running wide open that entire first stage, and his stop was 14.14 to Kyle Busch, who was 11.1.
But Logano wants the lead back.
That's exactly right. I'm not seeing any cooperation manufacturer-wise, team-wise, or whatever. Logano, Keselowski, it's every man for himself. I really thought those 4 Fords stacked up would spit Busch out as that leader, and that's the way they would play it. They didn't. Logano went around, made a move trying to get to the front. Another move.
Kyle
Busch trying to get back to the point. Wants them laps, wants to lead them laps.
Well, he had that lead for about a quarter of turn 2, and then the outside lane formed up. And Blaney got right to him. They're going to be even coming off turn 4.
I think it's going to be important for him. If he's going to do it, he needs to do it quick. Get back up in line. I think you have time on that bottom, but that time is limited. I think when it gets time to a long run after 10 laps or so, you better be on that outside lane or you're going to wish you were.
Well, there's an awful lot of cars that got down to that bottom line and said, hey, we want the track position. We want to try to work our way forward, getting cleaner air. It's evened up. It's doubled up 2 lanes wide again.
They've also had a time to make an adjustment on pit road. Hot Rod's feeling better, comfortable.
Well, Tony, what's the difference in the draft from 10th, say, to 15th or 20th or 25th?
Well, talking to the drivers, the cars just don't drive as good. They have less air, less downforce, less stability, and that's the biggest factor is the stability. So if you don't feel stable and don't feel comfortable in the car, it's hard to tug on that steering wheel and move around. So you need to stay up toward the front.
Clint, is it more of a problem the further back in the pack you get?
Yes. Yes, for so many different reasons. A lot of layers to that question. You know, the tight constraints of this racetrack we talk about, you heard me say it a million times, it's very, very narrow. You're just mired in traffic. You're in a traffic jam with no place to go until something happens. And if that something is a big wreck, guess what? It's in your lap and you're in it. You don't want to be back there. That's the eye of the storm. You want to be right there where you're watching Kyle Busch getting that push from Logano. Back to the lead. It's going to be interesting, though. They're the ones, you heard them say, they didn't get the fuel in that car they wanted to. If this thing goes green, they're going to be the ones that have to pit off cycle from everybody else. Might put them in a bad situation. Riding with Corey LaJoie, oh so close last year. So what's cool about this race, these drafting style racetracks, it's anybody's game. Corey LaJoie almost proved that last year, getting his first win right here at Atlanta.
LaJoie riding 15th, right in the middle of the storm. Joey Logano wanted the lead back, had it in the back straightaway, and Kyle Busch nips him at the line to lead lap 76. Look at this 2x2, no give, no take. because there's nothing to take. And there's little to give.
Larson gets down to the corner and the line checks up. You can't just slam on the brakes. So you have that real estate to the right. He chose wisely, moved up. Didn't cost him any time. Didn't cost him a position. So.
And he was lucky that Reddick did the same thing.
Exactly.
Reddick didn't have anybody behind him. It afforded him the opportunity to lift. You know, that's the hardest thing. When you're up there in the middle of the pack, you can't lift. You can't do that. If you do, you're going to get run over. If something happens in front of you in a situation like this, Mike, it's hard. But the first instinct better be look in the mirror and see who's behind you.
77 laps completed at Atlanta with Joey Logano back in command.
Fixed it.
On a sun-drenched, chilly day in Atlanta. We're 25 laps into this 100-lap stage 2. 85 laps total be completed next time around. Joey Logano has led 71 of them. The question is the car running second. Kyle Busch.
We need to figure out this fuel situation. It's killing me, and I have the answer. How about this? Andy Petrie, it's Boy and the boys up in the booth. You got me?
Yeah, Clint, I got you. How you guys doing?
Well, I'm wanting to know about the fuel and how you're doing, more importantly. First of all, you look cold, warm, however you want to sell it, but it looks bitter cold out there. Nonetheless, all right, here's the deal. You wanted 5 seconds. We heard on the radio. You got 3 seconds. How many is 2 seconds worth of fuel going to less laps out there on the racetrack?
Well, the plan was to fill it, wait just a little bit to get it full, but it looked like Kyle wanted to get going to get up there and race these guys for the lead. So probably about 2 gallons short. That should be, we're roughly getting 6 miles to the gallon, so you kind of figure it out. But it's a trade-off either way. We got track position now. We'd have to have given it up to get it full. Now we'll just take this. We'll have to stop a little bit longer on the next one. Hopefully we don't take too big a hit.
So the driver made that call for you. Wanted that track position, huh? Never heard of such a thing.
Yeah, we talked about it. We said, let's go on to Randall. Jack came down. He was gone. Randall sitting there going, well, I guess go. Anyway, worked out good. Our guys did a really good job. Made a good quick pit stop, and that's why we didn't get as much fuel in it.
All right, man. Well, maybe a caution will come out or something. You won't need it. But nonetheless, car's fast. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, man.
So, Larry Mack, you are looking at throttle traces and other data transmitted from these cars. Compared to Joey Logano leading, what's Kyle Busch's throttle trace look like right behind him, and how much fuel might he be saving by being in second?
Yeah, I mean, Joey Logano, his throttle is flat line at 100%. Has been every time he has been outside, out front. Now, Kyle Busch, he's rolling out of it to about 40% in turns 1 and 2 to about 60% in 3 and 4. And right now, I'm showing that Kyle Busch could go about 5 laps further if they're head-to-head on full of fuel, which we know Kyle Busch is not. Kyle Busch could go 5 laps further than Joey Logano right now.
Okay. 89 complete. And which of these drivers will have the best finish at the end of the race? This is one of the Super 6 questions to win Clint's cash. There are the 6 drivers.
Last chance, guys. Stage 2, Fox Bet Super 6 app. Get on there. Free to play. $10,000 of my money. Who's it going to be? Best finish at the end of the race. Kevin Harvick, Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex. Who was the last one? I didn't see it. I was trying to talk.
It's the leader, Joey Logano.
I would pick him. I would definitely pick him, guys. There's my tidbit.
Oh, it's a good thing.
Inside.
It's free to play. Now, we know it's cold in Atlanta in the grandstand, so the wave originated in Detroit at a Detroit Tigers game on a day that was nowhere near as cold as this one. Not getting a lot of audience participation there, but, you know, it's early. Jamie.
Well, Brad Keselowski finds himself running up there in the front of the pack and fourth right now. I talked to Brad Keselowski just about the uptick in performance this year. We talked about him a lot, and of course, he's been running better than his finishes show, and I asked him, where have you improved the most? He said, our pace. We can stay with the others better now, longer. Our cars have more speed in them, and it's showing here today. He's been able to stay up there. Said the car is really balanced. He's happy with it, no complaints at all. It's been a good, nice uptick for the 16.
Well, he has been the best car in race long, Jamie, that did not come out of Team Penske. And his teammate Chris Buescher right behind him.
Look at this overhead. You see how that line's really starting to deteriorate, getting a lot of open spots? That's handling. You know, look back here. This guy, he's having trouble in holding and stacking that line up. A lot of gaps in this chain. Boys are still struggling with handling on this racetrack. Kevin Harvick told us before the race, heard from a lot of these drivers asking them, you know, what can I expect? What do you expect out there today? And drafting is the #1 name of the game, but every one of these drivers told me still have to handle. I think you're seeing that right now.
Ryan Preece, you saw just going one lap down. They are having voltage issues in their Ford. Bubba Wallace is 2 down. 34 cars in the lead draft after 94 laps in Atlanta. Yes, the racing is that close. Bristol Dirt coming up April 9th, one of those tentpole events on Fox. Talladega, April 23rd. And Stock Car Racing's longest night, the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte, May 28th. I know which one of our guest analysts got to pick first this year. Smoke, going to join us for all 3 of those.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited to go to Bristol. I really want to be in a car there, but I'm excited to watch this race and be in the booth with you guys.
Glad to have you. And tickets are available for the upcoming Bristol Dirt Race on April 9th. Go to bristolmotorspeedway.com and get yours.
Challenges these teams, that dirt race. One-off race like that, always a surprise. You know, last year was just wow factor galore, left and right everywhere you looked. And I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I'm telling you, much like a rule change does with this Cup Series, every time you change the game, so to speak, it really shakes things up. And I think that dirt race at Bristol does just that.
Watching Brad Keselowski and Denny Hamlin on the right. Tony, moving that dirt race to Sunday night, how is that going to change the complexion of things?
I think it'll make the racing just that much better. The thing about dirt racing versus pavement racing is it needs moisture in the dirt. So at night, that moisture comes up, helps with the dust, but makes the driving conditions way better for the drivers.
Sunday drive at 185 miles an hour. Corey LaJoie on the left, Christopher Bell on the right.
Pretty smooth at the wheel so far. Those cars are handling well. Again, just single file line right now.
Ross Chastain,
storm. See
Ty
Chastain.
Gibbs.
Sorry.
That's right.
Again, it just kind of, it's the calm before the storm.
But it also shows the difference from what we saw yesterday with these guys. Their hands moving around a lot more. The cars bounced around. Their heads bounced around. Much calmer today.
Ty Gibbs reached over and put his drink straw back in his mouth. That's exactly what he did. You saw him reach over, grab that straw, stuck it back in his mouth, get him a drink of water.
Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace.
Bubba Wallace, if you're just tuning in, was our first caution, got into the wall. Struggling with the handling of his race car. Off the pace a little bit here so far. Might be able to get back in the game. You never know what's going to happen at the end of this thing. Remember looking back, watching this race from a year ago, Chastain was a huge part of this race and had bare bond, the whole left front fender knocked off of it, and was holding his own, Tony, on the bottom lane all by himself.
Chase Briscoe, the Mahindra Tractors Cam, 30th place, but only 4 seconds off the lead. I say only. Looks like a long distance from here, but he's still in the draft. He's still competitive.
And he's got time to work on that car. You know, handling issues early that we talked about. every time they get a chance to, all you got to do is make it to the end of the stage or make it to the end of a caution. Hopefully you're not the caution, but take those opportunities to get the balance where you want it to be so you can move around at the end of the day.
And we saw toward the end of stage 1, all this single file parade went out the window. Everybody wanted to gain track position, gain stage points, and be in a position to get a pit stop and come back out toward the front. Christopher Bell riding 9th. We listened in.
Guys, if it stays green, we'll do right sides in 1 full can. We'll need the whole can, and then at the stage we would do left sides in 1 can, and we would be full.
Well, Clint, you asked in the meeting about left side tire changes, who would take left sides only, and something I guess typically we only see on the super speedways.
Well, this is certainly an opportunity, usually on a repaved racetrack, a track that has a lot of grip, affords you that opportunity. Seen it over the years. I can't remember back to Kansas Speedway. That was a part of a conversation. You know, Daytona, when we repaved that, and now certainly Atlanta opens the door up for a quicker two-tire stop for sure on the pit road.
.108 laps complete. Joey Logano closing in on 100 laps led today. He leads Kyle Busch, Ryan Blaney, Brad Keselowski, and Chris Buescher at Atlanta.
Well, I need a dollar.
There's a chance as you catch this group of 4, you're going to catch the slower 41 as well. You ready for it to call the shuffle here?
Too wide like
They're going to catch the slower 41 as you're catching them. So 3 back coming middle. 2 back coming middle. 1 back coming top. You're clear down, outside. Still up top. You got about 10 more in this line, and you got a gap for about 20 car lengths to a second pack.
Bit of a tense moment there for Joey Logano as he came up on a group of about 5 cars to put him a lap down. They suddenly went single file trying to improve position, but Logano prevailed with Kyle Busch and Ryan Blaney right behind him. We'll be back for green flag pit stops. Welcome back to Atlanta. 35 to go in stage 2. Austin Dillon had difficulty entering pit road, came around, made 1 more lap, might have run out of gas. He finally did get to his pit and get service. And here's the other RCR car, Kyle Busch coming in. Remember, they did not get it full on their last stop. Martin Truex coming with him. Regan.
Well, Mike, the 8 car of Kyle Busch, that race car obviously had to pit early, as you said, because it wasn't full. He's happy with the race car, though, has been all day long since the first run of the race. And the 19 of Martin Truex Jr., he had no fuel pressure when he came off of turn 2 that last time. They had to pit immediately. Car was no grip earlier, but better right now.
Cars are running out of gas. Business fixing to pick up. You think this thing has gotten tame? Watch this. I'm telling you, pit road is going to be extremely difficult for so many different conversations. One, the pit road timing that we've talked about, getting your marks right, not getting caught speeding on pit road. But I'm telling you, getting into that line from no man's land. Not a lot of reference points coming off of turn 2 with a huge head of steam, Tony. Getting that thing loaded up, that's going to be extremely difficult for these drivers. And if you get caught, boy, you're in big trouble.
Well, normally we're used to seeing guys pitting off of the corner versus at the end of the backstretch. So I guess the only thing I can think that might be similar to this is Daytona and Talladega, where you have a long distance between turn 4 and pit road. That could be the only saving grace, but to your point, it's hard to see down there. The only reference I can see is the green light there at the end on the inside wall that shows them where pit road.
First time we've ever seen this on this racetrack.
Absolutely.
Never a green flag pit stop, and I'm telling you, these guys have never seen that either. No experience. The difference between Daytona and here, they've done it 20 years plus, some of these guys.
So let's go back to yesterday in qualifying. Each car left its place in the qualifying line and then had to brake to a complete stop before they drove out on the track. NASCAR said the reason they required that because they wanted drivers to practice pit road entry and pit road speed at turn 3 after they completed their qualifying lap. I only saw one driver do that. So this is kind of driving into the great unknown, making a green flag pit stop, entering the pits at turn 3 on the back straightaway on this now very fast racetrack. Here's Keselowski coming in from 3rd place.
Now it's all about strategy. Larry, Kyle Busch running, like, obviously just pitted 2 laps down. Could that be the saving grace for him? Can he win this stage? What's the play here? What do you want out of me?
Well, he needs this thing to cycle through all the green flag pit stops. That's going to be his saving grace. We've got to see everybody out there make a green flag pit stop for Kyle Busch, Martin Truex, all these drivers making their pit stop right now into green.
Corey LaJoie in, Ty Dillon making his stop.
I think it's going to be very fun to watch this. There's a lot of things to lose here, and I guarantee you every single one of those crew chiefs are telling them drivers do not get caught speeding, but if you push it a little bit, you can gain a bunch of positions.
Jamie.
And Brad Keselowski brings it in. The balance has been pretty good. He's been happy with the 6. They're going to wait on fuel. No tires here, just enough fuel to make it to the end of the stage.
J.J. Yaley's made his stop. And there's a large group of cars. They are looking like I-75-85 through downtown Atlanta on Friday afternoon. Barely moving at the apron of 3 and 4.
Here's your leaders. Now the Penske boys, they came together. Logano, Blaney, and Cindric all together. Boy, it looks slow there, Tony. Long ways around there.
Painfully slow.
45 miles an hour. And then once you get to pit road, it's a long way down for these cars. Logano, Blaney, Cindric, and B.J. McLeod. Jamie.
And Ryan Blaney will be the first to pit of those 3 in the 12. Little bit free early on, but gets better. He doesn't want to make any changes, doesn't want to spend any more time on pit road than he needs to. Right side tires for him, for Austin Cindric, and Joey Logano, who's led the most laps today, takes right sides.
Cody Ware in and out. Chris Buescher now the leader. We're not seeing manufacturers or teammates put together here as we did at Daytona.
The Penske cars came together, but we've had guys kind of cycle individually. I think it just gives them a little more room to not worry about getting in trouble at the end of the backstretch.
The other thing we're seeing here, mind you, these cars that are staying out, they're starting to get close on fuel. One of those things hiccups and doesn't run, stumbles, you're going to get run over. That could be that caution that's detrimental. Or talk about detrimental, 12 car Ryan Blaney speeding on pit road. That is exactly what those crew chiefs told him not to do. Big time penalties, probably 2 laps at least for Ryan Blaney.
Well, 2 laps down on the pit stop. He's going to lose at least another lap on the penalty drive.
That could be game overville for him.
So the first 17 drivers have not pitted since lap 64. Blaney was too fast on the apron in turn number 4. Regan.
Mike Daniel Suarez, that race car is a little tight with the nose of it. As you see him stalling it, trying to get off a pit road right there. Didn't want adjustment, so he likes it where it's at in the pack.
Ricky Stenhouse in. He's going to get right side tires and fuel. And another group of 4 or 5 coming again at a snail's pace.
That was your leaders.
Yep.
Buescher. Oh, got another one. You're not going to like this, Tony.
Ryan Preece, commitment line violation, uncontrolled tire for Cody Ware. So all of those are pass-through penalties at 45, while everybody else is doing 185. Eric Almirola in. Michael McDowell finishing up. Regan.
Chris Buescher has been up front all day long. No changes earlier in the race. No changes right now. There was some concern about what that car would do over the long run, but it's been very good so far in the 48 of Alex Bowman. That car takes off good, but it gets tight as the runs go on.
Man, there's a lot going on.
William Byron in. Christopher Bell is the race leader from Kyle Larson and Noah Gragson. Regan.
William Byron spent the majority of that run saving fuel. They felt like it would pay dividends by being able to pit later. Fuel only for them.
So, Jamie, how long can Christopher Bell go?
Well, that is the question. Adam Stevens, his crew chief, just told him on the radio, let's run this as long as we can. And Christopher came back. He said, all right, we're pretty good up here. I don't need any changes running up front. Remember, they had talked on the radio about when they come here, if it's under green, they're thinking about doing left sides only and trying right sides then at the end of the stage.
So, due to green flag pit stops, the only cars left on the green lap are these two, Christopher Bell and Kyle Larson. And here's Larson.
Bell's pretty happy right here. He gets the draft. He gets to go part throttle again. May not save him another lap or two, but he gets to stretch this out just a little bit longer.
This is exactly worst case scenario. You have to be prepared for it. Here comes Bell.
Now at the commit line, he needs to be down to 45 miles an hour there. Yellow line to yellow line, pit road speed.
I think, like I was saying, have to be prepared for this scenario. This is the strategy that we see at Daytona Talladega. However, history, we don't have much history at this track, but what we do have tells you no chance we're going to have a green flag pit stop. Cautions all over the place. We watched yesterday with cautions all over the place. Last year, both races had a lot of cautions. Didn't even get close to a green flag pit stop. Look what we have here.
Kyle Larson in and Christopher Bell coming to the head end of pit road. Ryan Preece going to make a second stop as they actually he's going to make his pass-through penalty. And here is Bell coming to a halt. Jamie.
And Christopher Bell, since he stayed out and led laps, he got 5 laps led there. They bring it to a stop. They'll fill him up with fuel here, just enough to make it here with 19 laps to go before stage end.
Well, that is going to put probably 22 cars back on the lead lap once we have now fully cycled through pit stops. And Joey Logano is going to be back to the front.
Bell's going to join back in. I think he's going to get freight train, though. Last to pit. Here it comes. Off at 2. Leaders are coming, and they're coming in a hurry. No chance he can pull up and block. Gonna have to watch them blow his doors off. There they go. Strategy didn't quite pay off for his team.
He is still not yet up to race pace. He'd probably tack on to the back of this line here. And that will put him behind Corey LaJoie in 14th position.
All clear.
So he was 9th prior to the pit stop cycle, so a net loss of 5 positions for Christopher Bell.
Yeah, but they got to gamble a little bit. You got to try. Got to learn.
Right. Joey Logano back to the front. He's now led 118 of 143 laps today.
For 46 years straight, more of you have trusted Ford F-Series trucks to help save the day, stretch the weekend, haul, or tow. Just about anything, anywhere. That's because they're built Ford tough, and it's why Ford F-Series are America's best-selling trucks 46 years straight. And for that, we thank you. Because this isn't just about our capability, it's about yours.
Get crafts, sporting goods, restaurants, and the future of NASCAR all from your neighborhood. DoorDash.
As a mom, I want to have peace of mind while she's at college. I like to know where she is and that she's safe.
We got a flat tire. We pull over, it's super dark. We were able to reach out to our family members, let them know that we were safe.
I have been in many situations on the road where Verizon was the only reason I got from point A to point B.
That's why we build the most reliable 5G network in America.
And #1 in J.D. Power Awards for network quality 30 times in a row. Does your phone run on Verizon?
To you, it may just be an elevator.
Here goes nothing.
But for a young homeowner becoming their parents, it's a learning opportunity.
Come on in. The more the merrier. Paris, huh? Bonjour. We got any out-of-towners in the elevator?
Tom, it is not easy.
10th floor, huh? Must be a heck of a view.
Okay, see how everyone else is facing this way?
Progressive can't save you from becoming your parents, but we can save you money when you bundle home and auto with us.
Okay, that was terrible. Okay, let's hang back. We're going to try that again.
Fox Wednesday. Throw on your boots and saddle up.
It's country night.
The Masked Singer's going buck wild for the gosh darn cutest costume yet.
The axolotl.
The axolotl. And can this songbird sing?
I have a new favorite.
Plus an unmasking hits down home.
This is family right here. You had me.
It's country night on an all-new Masked Singer. Wednesday on Fox.
Much has changed over our 75 years. But the one thing that never does, that feeling you get when the race begins again.
Coming up to lap 150, Joey Logano back out front. Big winner in that round of pit stops was Tyler Reddick. They took fuel only and are now running third. Picked up a total of 24 spots as Ryan Blaney is about to go 2 laps down after serving that penalty. William Byron also got gas only. So did Al Bowman, Keselowski, Josh Berry, Corey LaJoie, Christopher Bell, and Kyle Larson. Fuel only.
This is going to get very interesting. You see Blaney, Burton, and Austin Dillon right there in front of your leader, Logano. They're going to start pressing here. 10 to go on the stage. Those guys are going to have to get very wide, make their cars wide and block all the while these other guys are trying to race for this stage end. They're going to be a factor in who gets points and who doesn't, and possibly whether a caution comes out or not.
They may run out of gas.
Oh my gosh, and the 3-car could run out of gas right in front of you as a leader. That's something you don't want to hear.
Well, so let's give you the flip side of pit stops. Kyle Busch lost 13 spots on that exchange. He took 4 tires. Ryan Blaney had to make a penalty drive-through, lost 30 positions from where he was before pit stops, and Ricky Stenhouse lost 9 spots on that exchange. Stenhouse in 23rd. We've got 30 cars back to Austin Dillon on the lead lap. Here's your Xfinity fastest lap, which happens to be Ricky Stenhouse. How about that for Team 47? Kyle Busch, Todd Gilliland with those fast laps. Drafting helps.
Well, and it's no surprise on these super speedways. Usually the fastest lap comes from those guys in the back that can get that run, that big head of steam off that massive pack in front of you, especially when they're 2, maybe even 3 wide in front of you. Punches a huge hole in the air. Advantage goes to you. But you can't do much with it.
No, not at all.
The Xfinity 10G Cam giving you these pictures from Tyler Reddick, who was ill this morning, was excused from the drivers' meeting, not feeling well. The team says we're going to leave it up to Tyler John Hunter Nemechek on standby if needed, but sometimes just getting up to speed is good medicine for a driver who is having a rough morning.
Well, you get that helmet on and you get the adrenaline going. You race hurt, you race sick. I mean, it's just what drivers do. That's what they've always done.
What really stacked those guys up going around a lapper, I think it's Cody Ware. 3 wide right here with Bowman and Buscher.
Yep, Yaley on the top side.
Wow, very close to Truex. Look at the push. Josh Berry.
Yep, Berry and LaJoie. Well, we're coming to the end of the stage. Business is picked up.
Yes, sir. Money on the line. Points on the line. They're
Track
go
position.
Clear.
Something I feel like's interesting at the front of this, though, is you see the 3 cars of Austin Dillon, Ryan Blaney, and you see Logano behind that. That gap is opened up, actually, and I can't figure out if Logano is trying to back that group up so he can focus on the cars behind, or what's going on.
Well, much like we see in Daytona and at Talladega, sometimes 4, 5, 6 cars, a little bit smaller line is more efficient than that big line that gets that slack in the chain and have to lift, push too hard, hit the brakes, slam on the brakes. It's kind of common. I've seen that quite a bit.
Well, I also wonder, it's his teammate. So is Logano taking care of his teammate and trying to help him out here? But it's such a risk with all those guys stacking up behind at the end of this stage. I just don't know.
Well, we'll see with what happens on the inside line. That's Denny Hamlin and Corey LaJoie. If they're able to gain a lot of ground, that means Logano's hanging back a bit.
Well, 2 to go here, Tony. When's the time to go? I need these points. I'm desperate. I want some points. How do I do that? What's going to form, and when do I jump on board with it?
Well, I think if you were hanging back, you got to go now, because you can't afford to let somebody get a run and get beside you and pull you back.
Logano's not even full throttle on the backstretch, Larry says. There's 12 cars packed up there, 10 stage point positions at stake, 1 lap from now.
I think that's smart for Joey Logano. The closer he gets to that pack, it gives those guys behind him an opportunity to utilize that draft as well, just like him. He's trying to slow them down, keep that gap in front of them. That helps him manage this lead. Final lap, here we go. Who's going to make the move?
Leader's full throttle now.
Look at that gap.
Look at that. There it is. Reddick's going for it. See, now they close that gap. Gives them that opportunity, just like I was talking about.
Coming to the flag for stage 2.
Awesome. That's exactly. Bowman comes in for the push.
Austin Cindric, your stage winner from Tyler Reddick, Logano, Bowman, and Byron.
As he approached that group, it stacked him up. He had a decision to make. He can't block them both ways. You got to go high or low. Unfortunately, didn't get high enough. His teammate, he was trying to protect that bottom, gave his teammate an opportunity, a window to get to that outside, slipped around him, took the stage win out from underneath of him. And Reddick on the bottom. Maybe didn't do the best with that one. We're going to go back to work. Need to go back to the drawing board.
So Blaney stayed 1 lap down. Austin Cindric for Team Penske gets his 2nd career stage win. NASCAR on Fox is sponsored by Toyota. Let's go places. Getting ready for the 100-lap stage 3. Here's your Progressive race summary. Eric Almirola took no tires. He is the leader. 1 of 8 today. 10 lead changes, 31 lead lap cars, including the free pass car, Austin Dillon, and 3 caution flags. The only one for cause was for Bubba Wallace's spin back at lap number 10. Now, during this round of stops, Chris Buescher too fast entering, so he'll start tail end of the field. And Tyler Reddick did not get his car full, so they came and made a 2nd pit stop. He will restart back at 31st. BJ McLeod also made a 2nd stop. He left the pits on the first bunch of stops in 15th position.
Blown away here, guys. Watching this race after sleeping on yesterday's activities, if you want to call them that. Unbelievable what happened yesterday. I mean, we had to use a different caution flag. They wore this one out yesterday, and with having that thing out in the wind all day long. Flags wear out, Tony, when you use them too much. got us a new caution flag, and they haven't even used this one today after that.
We said that in the NASCAR meeting this morning. They said, we have more flags.
Well, they're using
it.
And now I think it's a typical super speedway race. Not at all what we saw yesterday, but this race is not over.
So 2 cars at the back, Ty Gibbs and Austin Dillon, have come in to top off fuel. Eric Almirola, like most leaders today, has chosen the top lane. Joey Logano will restart alongside. Cindric and Stenhouse, row 2. Bowman and Byron, Harvick and Hamlin. Regan?
Mike, just to update on the 45 of Tyler Reddick, they went to put the second can in. It plugged into the car, but the fuel wasn't flowing out of the can. That's why they had to do the second stop to come back down. And you can't stay out with a low fuel load right now. We see how much of a risk that is to lose those 2 laps.
Well, how much are tires worth? We're going to find out with Eric Almirola in his 10 being on the front row. I think it's going to be fine. I really do. You know, with the track, as cool as it is, a 47.
So, Almirola with no fresh tires, Ricky Stenhouse with 2. They are your front row for this restart as they approach the Geico restart zone for stage 3.
Back to the point, though, you're going to see really quickly if they have the grip to hold on, because this 22 is going to be pushing hard.
Keep in mind, we saw the 45 of Tyler Reddick not take tires and just do fuel, only got track position and was able to hold on to it.
Side to 22, you're still clear. Bottom lane's pushing now.
You see Eric did not pull down in front of that bottom line, elected to stay on the outside. I agree with that. Got some forward help. And one of those is Logano, that's been class of the field so far today.
Ricky Stenhouse was...
Put the 10s fast, too. Fine ride second here. I don't think we need to lead right now. Okay, that's my answer.
Logano's radio.
That like 2 laps ago. We're going to talk about it. But still thinking through it.
Ricky Stenhouse went from 4th at the choose to the front row, choosing the inside.
Going back
to the leader.
Going back to that radio communication you heard in Logano's car. Yeah, that's fine. I'm fine riding behind the 10 in second. The problem was the 10 wasn't fast enough. The inside line, pushed by William Byron into Stenhouse, got up in front of them. Now all of a sudden, crew chief, I'm running 4th. This is not where I wanted to be.
Well, I don't think it's terrible to be there 4th in that line, but you darn sure don't want to move further back than that.
I tell you, moving, Denny Hamlin is moving. Can't keep it down, getting into 3, sliding up the racetrack. Can't slide up too much. Going to get in the side of that very car we're talking about in a situation that he may or may not have wanted to be in, Joey Logano.
Ricky Stenhouse is only the 2nd Chevrolet to lead today. Kyle Busch led 7 laps earlier. Christopher Bell's Toyota led 6. Otherwise, it's been all Fords at the front.
Well, Denny Hamlin's trying to change that, and look, the 7. Here comes LaJoie, Corey LaJoie. Talked to him in the pre-race show. Almost won this race in July. Look over your shoulder, and there he is, marching to the front. Could be his day. Redemption time, Tony.
He was so excited about this race, so knowing what I'm sure he re-ran that last lap last year so many times in his head. He wants to be back in that position to remedy it.
Well, he had a strong car, and you see him driving right to the bumper at Denny Hamlin in front of him. I think that car's strong again.
Yes, sir.
Picking up right where they left off.
Ricky Stenhouse out front won the Daytona 500. William Byron has gone to victory lane the last 2 weeks in a row. And there they run 1-2 for the moment.
I think Ricky's holding that outside lineup. I hate to say that. Sorry, Ricky Stenhouse and all you fans, but why is this inside line led by a Toyota Denny Hamlin all of a sudden faster than him, and Ricky's really making some blocks inside and outside?
And here comes Byron, who won this race last year.
How do you beat them Fords all stacked up there? 8 out of the top 10 in qualifying. You get in front of them and get wide. That's exactly what you see Stenhouse doing. Outside block, inside block.
He is known as a very aggressive plate racer, and you're seeing it right here.
You know how cautions happen? Blocks. There's a close one.
Not like that.
That was way close.
2 by 2, 2 by 2.
Look at Joy. Look at the pushing.
You think of the restart we had after the first stage. Tried to get single file, but then they doubled up real quick. And then it took about 6 or 8 laps before they started losing to that top line again.
3 wide, fellas.
3 wide, middle of the pack. And it's, whoa! Who's been 3 wide more than anybody else today? Kyle Larson in the 5.
He put Keselowski in that 3 wide scenario. Keselowski all but got into Eric Almirola in the left side, left rear. Right in front of the field. That is not what you want to see. They're getting antsy, Tony. Well, now a lot of 3 wide here. Desperation.
Now LaJoie's going to need some help. First car on the inside, and it looks like he's going to get it. But they're 3 wide behind.
It's coming.
Why now? 84 laps to go. Why are we ran single file for laps and laps and laps. Why are we 3 wide now?
Buddy, I'm tired of running single file. I want to lead. I want to get up there. Saw that Logano leading all these laps. My turn. But patience is a virtue, and nobody taught that better in my career than this guy standing right next to me. Somehow. I can't believe you're a patient human.
But I think a lot of these guys, too, have had different moments of the race where they've been toward the back and realized how bad their cars drive back there. They want to get up there while they have fresh tires, get that track position, hopefully get himself in a position to maintain it.
Look what, I hear you, girl. I hear you. Look what happens when those guys get 3 wide, though. You saw that 3-4 rows of 3 wide back there. Look at that. Now look at the front of the pack. Single file, and they're driving away from them. That slows you down. Big time. A lot of difference there. That's exactly what those leaders wanted to see.
To the back behind it, if Bubba wounded.
Well, last time this happened, it split the pack in 2 with a sizable gap between. So far, not yet. So to keep an eye on it all, we're going to take you, Fox, side by side with 81 laps to go in Atlanta.
It was me the whole time.
Well done, ma'am.
What did I do exactly?
With Snapshot from Progressive, you get a personalized discount for doing exactly what you're already doing, being a safe driver.
Congratulations.
This is a bowling trophy.
Yeah, it's the biggest one they had.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, have a good one.
Reggie Miller wanted to give away a Dave single for $1 every time there's a buzzer beater.
Oh. Oh! Just keeping you on your toes.
Even though we were going to do a deal anyway.
Reggie or not, you can get a $1 Dave single in the Wendy's app.
Where's the beef?
We got the house! We did it!
Pods handles the driving. Pack at your pace, store your things until you're ready, then we deliver to your new home, across town or across the country. Pods, your personal moving and storage team.
The roar of our engines, the pump of our heartbeats, the pedal to our metal. The sparks that ignite us, the pistons that push us, the passions that drive us. From the feelings that move us to the places that pull us, on roads that unite us. Napa has America's largest network of parts and care, here to be the fuel that keeps you firing on all cylinders.
The Bush Guide, cold and smooth survival skills. If you encounter a black bear, do not run. It may stimulate the instinct to chase. Instead, make yourself appear bigger. Bigger. And speak firmly in a loud voice. Bush. Good boy. Head for the mountains.
Jussie Smollett, an actor who films the hit TV show Empire, told police he's the victim of a hate crime.
I've been truthful and consistent on every single level since day one.
Let me paint a picture for you. Most folks aren't going out at 2 in the morning on the coldest night of the year.
Jussie hired them to beat him up.
This is where we waited for Jussie to come.
We were the ones that did it.
Yeah, it was us.
Jussie, you have anything to say?
Much has changed over our 75 years, but the one thing that never does, That feeling you get when the race begins again.
Well, they were orderly in single and double file, and now it's 3 wide again.
Finally got that Stenhouse. They were working on him, man. He was blocking for all his worth. Finally missed one of them. They got around him, and man, now we're in big trouble.
Hamlin, Byron up at the point with Harvick on the inside.
Harvick's the one that made the move. He was tired of riding in that single file, made the move, kind of created that scenario.
Now, those 3 all restarted in the top 10. Look at the one. Ross Chastain has come from 25th on the restart into the front 5.
Oh! Contact.
LaJoy and Gregson is where the contact was.
Chris Buescher, recovering nicely from that penalty, is up in the top 10 after restarting 28th.
Now you're starting to see what these drivers have. The aggression's picking up. They're getting way more aggressive behind the wheel.
I want this spot.
That was...
You want it worse than me.
Closest you get to a hook in the right rear and put you in the wall.
However, Joey Logano's led 135 laps of this race. Now he's mired in 20th position and cannot advance. And Austin Cindric.
Gregson finally in the wall, trying to make, trying to make that 3 wide scenario work. Tried it with LaJoy getting into 1, got all the way back around there to 3 and 4, still trying to finally got in the wall. Desperation. Probably not time for it, like you said, but nonetheless trying to get to track position.
Well, the Penske cars dominated the first half of this race. Now Logano is 18th, Cindric is 30th, and Blaney with a penalty 1 lap down, 32nd.
And I don't even think it's desperation as much as it's, this is just how much these guys are planning, of how you can't sit there and wait any longer to the end of the race to start working your way up there and trying to establish that track position. You got to go now.
I want to hear Tim Fedewa. Let's.
Whoa! He got turned by Chastain, and around they go.
Good break.
Kyle Busch is around.
Josh Berry, Buescher into the wall. Josh Berry, a lot of damage on the front of the 9. That's all it took. We were just fixing to say, let's listen in to Tim Fedewa, talking into this blocking situation. The one got hard into his left rear and just turned him around. Harrison Burton, toe link broke in the right rear. Heavy damage for Buescher. I'd say his day's done. I don't know that Harvick's got a huge amount of damage to his car, believe it or not.
Well, it spun around 360 degrees and then got centered up with some side contact, but
well, there
we're
it
in
is.
Big trouble here.
It shows me
got a lot of skew in it there.
The toe links broke on the right rear of that one.
Here's the 4.
You okay over there? Yeah, he just got me loose. Yeah, he knocked out of it right when he shouldn't have.
Yeah, the one car kind of tends to do that sometimes.
Pretty great. Let's have a look. On the inside, first 2 cars on the inside.
Well, look at the gap. First and foremost, closing in on him pretty hard. It wasn't on his left rear, though. Kind of moved across the rear bumper, I will say that.
He did a good, he closed in at such a high rate going into turn 1. It wasn't like he just went in there and drove into the back of the 4 car. He got it woed down, but he was there and trying to give that push, and it just, like you said, he started on the right side, and then as it moved to the left side, that's when the car switched.
I think that's just aggression picking up. And as he did, I think his thought was right, got on the right rear. I don't think it obviously wasn't intentional. And when he got to him with that head of steam, it got Kevin starting to get sideways. And by the time it was all said and done, now you're on his left rear, Tony, and where you really don't want to be. And look at the disaster.
All right, here's the Advent Health cam and radio in Ross Chastain's car.
There's the right rear.
Got any damage? No, sir. I didn't touch him. All right, be saving gas under caution.
Bubba Wallace.
Check apart, check apart.
Well, it was pretty obvious the aggression had picked up in a big way, and you knew something like this was imminent. And unfortunately, started right to the first of the pack, and when it does, it takes a bunch of them with him.
Here's the Monster Energy cam, Ty Gibbs.
Did a really good job right there. Didn't have a lot of options and got it woed down. Little slight contact with the 3, but did a really good job of getting through that.
And Tyler Reddick.
William Byron, a lot of damage.
And Chris Buescher awaiting the roll. Well, there's the wrecker. He's got one end. They may have to take that off hammock style. So as they clean up, we'll take a break with 69 laps to go in Atlanta. We've had the big one at Atlanta, lap 189. Ross Chastain and Kevin Harvick got oh so close up there in the corner.
Well, I'm not sure we didn't oversell this thing. We said he got slammed into and spun out. Look at this. You heard Ross Chastain. Looks like there's a gap in between them bumpers to me.
No, sir. I didn't touch him. All right, be saving gas under caution.
Ross Chastain said he didn't touch him. Look, Ross Chastain didn't touch him. Got loose, but he didn't touch him like we thought and slammed into him and turned him around with aggression.
It is so close, and even if he did touch him, I'm going to say he touched him. He didn't slam him by any means if he touched him at all. But like you mentioned, you saw that car of Chastain start from the right rear corner, and when it went to the left side, that's when it freed Harvick's car up.
Well, the reason it did is because Harvick was loose. That's why. Look, the reason you go from the right rear to the left side is because Harvick is extremely loose in front of you and chasing up the racetrack. Hey. Everybody's quick to judge old Ross, and including me. I called that as he slammed into him, turned him around. I was corrected in a break and got a chance to dissect the replay.
Even if he touched him, it was so light that it's not uncommon for this style of racing at Atlanta now.
It wasn't just an overly aggressive move and turned that leader around.
And look at how many cars were involved there. And those off the track right now include Harvick, Chris Buescher, and B.J. McLeod. Pit road is open, and this could be...
You can make it from here.
Yeah.
You can make it.
Thanks, Larry. Regan.
Like the one car, Ross Chastain made big changes last time. Those paid off. Obviously, that car went from the back to the front. Left side's only for him. A quick stop there. And the 45 of Tyler Reddick is told he only needs 3 seconds of fuel. Jamie?
And Denny Hamlin in the 11, a little bit tight overall today, a little loose up front. It was no tires for him. Eric Almirola, they didn't take tires last time. They said more of the same. We've got contact on pit road, Mike.
Yeah, Denny Hamlin exiting his pit. Ty Dillon trying to get into his pit, and they had substantial contact.
Look at this. Chastain's in the grass.
"65 laps to go as things get heated here in Atlanta." NASCAR on Fox is sponsored by the Credit One Bank NASCAR American Express card. 64 laps to go under caution for the big one at Atlanta. Here's your aerial coverage provided by Goodyear, powering every mile and every moment on NASCAR's road to victory. Goodyear, more driven. That is a hardy crowd. I don't know if they're frozen to those seats, but you know, Mother Nature has her way of things. And William Byron, winner 2 weeks in a row, gets a ride on the crash cart here. He's okay. Everybody okay after what happened there in the backstretch, but Byron is going to be one of several cars eliminated. Now here's Ross Chastain trying to get out and into pit road, and he's going to go do a little farming out here.
2 inside.
In the grass.
Checking out.
Might see a new rule coming I don't think there's any timing lines out there, Tony.
He did a really good job holding a nice wheel through the grass, though.
Should have floored it.
Now, we had 26 cars on the lead lap. Denny Hamlin trying to come out as Ty Dillon coming in. Who's got the right of way there?
Well, they both do. The hard part is, especially when you come in and you're just taking fuel only like that, you still have the back of the guys coming in as the leaders are pulling back out.
You can't have an intersection with both of them having the right of way, Tony.
You can in NASCAR.
It never works. Look at the tire marks out there.
Ross was out there, and Kyle was going to keep him out there. So Josh Berry and Martin Truex are going to start at the rear for pitting before pit road was opened. Ryan Blaney got the free pass on that caution, lap 189. 62 to go. Now, Joey Logano, we mentioned he was stuck back there in 20th place when that all took place.
This is why.
I should have gone down there as soon as you lose. You're about saving damn fuel. I got to go up there. I'm stuck in the little tight there in traffic. Copy.
All right, let's go back. Go back when they went green. You heard us talking about listening along with Logano. They said second place is okay here. Why is it? Because you can save some fuel back there. Well, second place ended up with fourth place when Stenhouse and whoever it was got up in front of them. Uh-oh, now we're losing more track position. Well, now this thing doesn't handle like it did when I was leading the race the whole time. I'm in big trouble. Now there's a caution, and I'm way in the back. Now he's frustrated, exactly what you heard on the radio.
He's going to restart 13th.
Unraveled out from underneath of him in a quick hurry.
Now Eric Almirola pitted, but again did not change tires. Larry tells us he's got 45 laps on those tires already, and he's got 62 laps to go.
Hang on to it, bud.
I don't want to hear that as a driver.
Hang on to it.
I'd rather just not know.
Keselowski moves up with the choose to the second row, and here we are, first row, and here we go.
You're clear. 5's not clear. He's 2 feet off of you. He's still not clear.
He's clear now.
You saw Kyle Larson pushing hard on Eric's back bumper, the 10. Have to be careful. Going back to Daytona, the Ford, a little bit more rounded nose on the front of the Ford, pointier on the Chevrolet and the Toyota. That plays a role. When push comes to shove at the end of these races, knowing who's behind you, I think that weighs on a driver's decision. You know they're all going to be pushing. Who can push better than the other?
5 cars knocked out in that crash. Checked and released at the care center. Harvick, Buescher, and McLeod waiting on Harrison Burton, and you saw William Byron getting a late ride over there, but everybody okay.
Big shot from Reddick into Keselowski. Look at the momentum. Sometimes a big shot like that, Tony, can hurt you a little more than it's not an efficient bump draft. They drive off from you and just kind of slows you down.
Well, it's just a bump. It doesn't really generate a lot of energy to really propel you forward that well.
Not much of a net gain for either car.
Exactly.
Well, let's find out what happened in that big crash. Here's Jamie.
Well, Kevin Harvick's been racing and winning at Atlanta since 2001, unfortunately out of this one early. What did you feel inside the car when the one of Ross Chastain was behind you?
Yeah, I don't know that he actually hit me. I think he was just so close to me that, you know, it just kind of took the back tires. He just caught me right in the middle of the corner there. And then the way that he got to me right there, I think he was just barely on me, and the way he came from the right to the left just took the back of the car and spun it around. So it's just a weird deal. His back tire started chattering, and then it turns into a tractor, and you just hold on.
Thanks, Kevin.
57 to go. There's Chastain right in the middle of it again.
Got spit out.
Yep.
Keselowski had a move on him, got to his outside.
He tried to get in that upper lane, and that hole closed up, and it held him to the middle.
Now he's trying to get in the bottom. That hole's closing up. Kyle Busch has filled that hole. Desperate now. I need help.
Busch, Chastain, and LaJoie 3 wide, and then Stenhouse right with them. Back to Jamie.
And William Byron has been checked and released. 2 weeks in a row you win. This time you end up in a wreck. How do you describe the racing that we saw, especially up front there, that led to this?
Yeah, it was super speedway type racing. I thought for the most part it was pretty single file all day, and that was a little discouraging because the bottom lane wouldn't really go that much. But as we all started to save fuel on the top, the bottom started to surge there, and it looked like the 1 and the 4 just got connected there into turn 1 and got the 4 loose. So just part of racing, that's the way it goes. Not really in our control. We're up there running the top 5 and doing what we need to do. So thanks to Liberty University, all of our partners, and we'll go to COTA, hopefully control a little bit more there, and hopefully get a win.
Thanks, William.
Every man for himself now. Not really any manufacturer connectivity.
No, look at that top 5, how it's very evenly distributed among manufacturers, but still too wide. Everybody trying to work their way to the front. 53 laps to go in Atlanta. Eric Almirola out in front of the pack.
Don't miss host Lenny Kravitz.
You're in it. 10.
Crash. Kyle Larson. Caution. Lap 209. And Eric Almirola's gamble and great day ends up in the fence. They were running 1-2. Here's a look at it.
Blew a tire. You heard Larry tell us 45 laps on them tires. Long ways to go. The only ones that stayed out. Blew a right rear tire right in front of the field. Took out Larson.
Here's from the Coca-Cola Zero Sugar cam on board Denny Hamlin.
Wow.
Those were 72 lap tires on Almirola's car. And from Christopher Bell and the Toyota cam.
Kyle slammed in that wall pretty hard, out of his car, already loaded up in the ambulance. Frustrated, obviously. Right in front of him, right in his lap. Nothing he could do. Tried to check up. Man.
But importantly, Larson walked away.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, because this is a big hit when this swings around driver's side of the safer barrier.
Eric Almirola out of his car, and he appears to be okay. Oh, Daniel Suarez. Justin Haley involved, Tyler Reddick as well.
It knocked the wind out of me. I don't know how it can keep going this way for us, boys. You keep bringing me fast race cars. One of these days we'll get the finish. Sorry.
That was Eric Almirola. Had the wind knocked out of him. And he gingerly climbs out of the car. Caution out, 50 laps to go in Atlanta. .48 laps to go under caution as Eric Almirola lost a tire. Took Kyle Larson with him. Here's your Credit One Bank ones to watch, which we've had to completely redo during the commercial break. We were loaded and ready, and this changes almost everything but Clint.
Well, Tony's certainly changed, if you know what I mean. Here's the thing. Brad Keselowski, the one I've been watching him for weeks. We talk about it in the pre-race shows, talk about it weekly, getting better with RFK in his 6 car. But more importantly, he told us back to that pre-race, he's going to win this race today. He is leading the race. It's been 66 races since Brad Keselowski's been in victory lane. Hard to believe, but today that changes.
Well, my driver just dropped out. So my second pick is a guy that started from the tail, marched his way up to the top 15 early in the stage 1. He's in position to win this thing again. I'm taking the 20 of Christopher Bell.
You open wheel guys stick together.
That's right.
Tyler Reddick had a bad morning. He was otherwise indisposed, missed the driver's meeting, you know what I mean. But he's toughing it out, and winning is the best medicine. Larry.
Yeah, Mike, Ross Chastain is always one to watch. He's been in the back. He's been in the grass on pit road. He's back in 18th, but you know what? He'll be back up there.
Yeah, and I'm going to go with Ryan Blaney. Led some laps early, got a lap down from that pit road speeding penalty, restarted this last run 25th. He's all the way up to 12th in that short run. He's definitely going to be one to watch.
Well, Blaney, now 11th, was as many as 3 laps down as we have pit stops.
Chastain on pit road. Truex, 4 tires. Truex just made an adjustment. See the tires on him. Chastain finishing up a 4-tire stop.
Ty Dillon as well, getting fuel only. Chase Briscoe gets the free pass on this one. Regan?
Well, Mike, the one of Ross Chastain pitting right there. That pit stop was to look at the diffuser on that race car, the piece underneath the car that directs the air. Wanted to make sure everything was there. After that green flag, they fell back a ways. And the 19 car of Martin Truex Jr. has been having a fueling issue in that car. Not getting fuel into it, but it's been burning way more fuel than they anticipated. That's part of the reason why earlier in the race they ran out during that green flag cycle.
All right, 24 cars on the lead lap. Briscoe getting one back there. Here's Christopher Bell's day. He had to start in the back because they changed those strakes and part of the diffuser after spinning out qualifying, so he had to start last. Had a 10th place car in qualifying, worked his way right up toward the front, then dropped way back and climbed up again.
Won't be your typical super speedway type of racing right here. You know, looking down, you talk about dancing partners. That's what we talk about when we go to Daytona, Talladega. You got a Ford, Toyota, Chevy, 2 Toyotas, 2 Fords, 2 Chevys, mixed bag all across the board here. Trying to find a dance of partners out the window. You're Stag. You got to go to this dance and find whoever. You got to find you a new date, Tony.
The World Baseball Classic marches toward an epic finale. The star-studded USA squad, led by Mike Trout and Grand Slammer Trey Turner, takes on Cuba. It's a winner-take-all semifinal matchup. It's tonight, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. 46 laps to go. They'll choose next time around. Bit of sad news to pass along. Alexis Lyris, who was NASCAR's public relations director under Bill France Jr. and opened, in fact, kicked down a number of barriers for women in motorsports. Did a great job there, then went to Melling Racing and did the PR for Bill Elliott through all his winning and championship years. Passed away at home after a battle with cancer. Alexis was 80 and is missed. Let's check with Jamie.
Well, Kyle Larson, you saw the big hit for him there. He's been checked and released. You say you're okay, but what is that moment like when somebody blows a tire right in front of you? There's no way you can go.
Yeah, I mean, you just really have to, like you said, nowhere to go. So, nobody had tire issues, so I wasn't even expecting the 10 to have a tire issue in front of me. And even if I did, I didn't have time to react. So, just a bummer, but just frustrating. I mean, I finally up front on this style of racetrack and still end up, with a DNF. So, I don't know, just frustrating.
Thanks, Kyle.
The choose cone here's making a difference. Just like it did in Daytona. We used to didn't have this at these super speedway type of racetracks. Look at that 22 car. Keep an eye on him. He's hungry, frustrated, wants that track position back. Has been our fastest car all day long. Because of that Trues cone, got that new opportunity.
There's your third row for the restart. Logano up there with Hamlin. Joey's led, well, more than half this race, 135 of 215 laps. And there's Brad Keselowski up front with Alex Bowman.
One of the lines he told us, Mike, told Tony and I in that pre-race segment, he says, we don't need luck to win this race. We just don't need bad luck. That's a pretty good line, and something that you know, wasn't in his conversation maybe even 6-7 months ago.
Chase Briscoe got the free pass. He's lined up at the back of the lead lap, or rather 1 lap down. I guess he was 2, now 1 lap down, 24th. 23 lead lap cars to settle this in Atlanta with 45 to go. Keselowski, Reddick, and Bowman, and Bell, and Logano back up in the front 5.
You're going to clear that 48. Tyler is going to clear him as well. You're both clear up. They got a pin now. They held him down tight. Both high sides coming to you on exit here.
That's TJ Mazurs, Keselowski's spotter.
Big block. Decided to move up in front of that 48.
How are you going to block them both?
Going to move down and block him.
One at a time.
Listen to that TJ Mazurs.
Yeah, TJ's smart. Did an awesome job with Dale Jr. for all those years. TJ is awesome at judging the run and knows when it's time to make that move.
The 2 drivers I feel are
back bottom, 1 back bottom.
I feel are best here at blocking.
Moving here. Their policers are coming to you on the high side, 48.
At blocking 2 lanes of traffic. Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano.
But it's also those spotters. When you hear TJ Mazurs talk him up, here they come. It's not a split-second decision. It's not wait. It is immediate. As soon as that TJ Mazurs clicks that radio, Brad Keselowski has that confidence in that voice and moves up immediately. Does not delay.
He is not clear. They're pushing. They're going to pull his door on exit. You're going to come up to the 48. 1.5. 1.5. 1 on the high side. Here they come. They got better help on the high side still. Back both lanes, half back bottom Tyler. Neither one of them have help here yet. There's not going to be a big run like last time here. 48 high side, 1 back, and then Tyler on it. Here comes Tyler in the bottom.
That
you're still clear.
Is working together in good chemistry. It's what it's all about.
And having the confidence that when you hear that, you're comfortable making that move. You trust that spotter.
Here comes Logano. It's the one we were talking about.
The Penske cars have fought their way back to the front once again, and they're lined up on the bottom, 3 of them.
Not clear him yet. Blaney is 3 wide. Blaney is 3 wide. 2 wide behind you. 3 wide behind you. Middle's the closest.
Bowman spit out.
Now Blaney's the closest.
Now that's Coleman Presley, Logano's spotter.
Hey, Keselowski's in trouble. You got 3 teammates behind you. If they make a move one way or another, they're all going in a line. As soon as that 22 makes the move, you can bet those other 2 are going with him. For right now, I would stay right behind that lane. If you give that up, it was just on the restart. I'm saying no dance of partners. They all found each other very quick.
But do they have to get to the top? That's been the preferred lane all day.
I'm going to tell you, as long as that bottom lane is as long as the top one, you're fine.
Here they go, up top.
We know the Fords are fast. 8 out of the top 10 in qualifying. They have the speed, and if they can stay together and work together and cooperate, they're going to be lethal.
Cooperation's the key there, though. If they don't cooperate, that outside line will get that momentum back and get them up there.
Reddick and Bell are not teammates, but they are part of that 6 Toyota group here, and Gibbs with them. See if the Toyotas can mount a rally here, working together.
I was going to say, as far as this conversation right now, they're teammates. If I'm Reddick, I want to get up in front of them.
Next 4 cars, 5
can't
cars
get
clear with you on the bottom.
Gibbs, the first of the 3 of them, on the inside, while Reddick and Bell are up on the outside alongside now.
Excuse me, I meant Gibbs. Yep. If I'm Gibbs, I'm going to try to get up in front of those 2 guys. Get that Toyota line going. Let's see how we can stack up against those 4 Fords up there. Strength in numbers.
Top still covered. Even numbers out back.
Gibbs is having a tough time in 3, keeping it down. Whoa, listen to that lift. Stacked him up on the outside. Bell into the back of Reddick.
I think that started with Austin Cindric kind of moved up a little bit in the center of turn 4 and
still is. Now you're going to see those 4 Fords move to that outside line, that preferred line, like you were talking about, Mike. Another block by Cindric. Didn't stay there. Blaney's not going to be happy with that one. These guys have shown as teammates, even Logano, I've seen him dip out and go for that lead out of aggression early in the race. For me, what I thought.
Whoa. The push from Reddick there got Blaney just a little bit squirrely.
And is Cindric's car having a little trouble holding the bottom in those corners?
I think so, but the best case scenario is if he's able to be down there by himself, where he's got clean air on the nose to get it turning.
Nose ahead up top, now they're even. Both lanes are even, equal help. Even, top's pushing tighter, Blaney is almost cleared, he's almost cleared, he's cleared. Blaney is cleared to the bottom. Blaney is not cleared now, Blaney is not. Austin's behind, tops and nose ahead with tighter help. Tops and nose ahead with tighter help.
Tighter help's the key there. You want to hear tighter help. That's going to be the decision maker. Look at this, Logano going to the lead.
You'll get help here unless Joey goes with him. Lined up bottom, your closest help's going to be Reddick now. Purple car, 3 back. And Blaney still got you. Here comes your help. Here comes your help. Here comes your help. Big push.
Logano back to the front. He's now led 135 laps today, while Brad Keselowski, who led only 6 races all of last year, Keselowski has now led in all 5 races this season so far.
Brad might be in a Ford, but he's the odd man out in that conversation. You have 3 teammates behind you. You know when one of those pull out like Logano did, the other 2 are going to follow suit. It's going to be tricky. If I'm Brad, I need Reddick. I'm giving up the Ford camp. They're clearly not going to work with me. Watch this. I'm going to take Reddick back to the front.
Do it on your own.
He's got Reddick and Bell in his wake on the outside.
1 in front. Half in front. Mid still covered. Even numbers front and back. Both lanes out back, even number. Slow on the bottom. Still 1 inside.
Chevrolet has won the last 6 drafting races: Atlanta, Talladega, Daytona. But Ford and Toyota control this one. The best Chevy is Allmendinger in 8th. Pulling up on Ryan Preece, laps down with mechanical issues and out of the way.
I think I noticed with the spotters, and I think it's so important as a driver inside that car. Tension ratchets up right here. Pressure ratchets up. Your heart rate's going. That spotter's timing, his dialogue and his demeanor through his voice stays constant, stays calm, and it gets you calm inside that car.
Keselowski back to the front by half a car length, and Logano surges by on the inside.
Well, we talked about heart rates. Now imagine inside the car, we know as drivers, we can get in and settle into a rhythm and kind of relax. Those spotters, they never get time to relax during the race, because even when it's single file, they're watching ahead in case there's a problem. He has to stay high energy the entire race. So imagine all those guys on the roof on a cold day like today, trying to coach their drivers, get them in the right spot on the racetrack. It's physically and mentally taxing for them too.
They might match the driver's heart rate.
Now behind Keselowski, Toyota's 2-3-4. And LaJoie has become the first Chevrolet in the race in 6th.
All right. That preferred line, Mike, you're the one that pointed it out. You get back to the outside. Well, those 3 teammates elected to stay on that bottom selfishly and stay in a line together. Brad, forget this mess. You guys don't want to ride with me. I'm going to move up. I'm going to find a new dancing partner, and that's Tyler Reddick. Problem is, who's Tyler Reddick got behind him? Christopher Bell and Hamlin, another Toyota behind them. Brad's the odd man out here, and it's going to be interesting how he can manage this and block and keep that lead.
I feel like the variable in the equation for the Penske cars is the 2 of Cindric. I don't feel like he can stay tucked up tight behind Blaney, and that loses that energy on that inside line.
All right, 27 to go. You're going to see it all as we take our last side-by-side commercial break of this race. Brad Keselowski out front.
I watched my first race yesterday.
You're on the team, kid. It's orientation day.
Hey, new guy. Let's get you up to speed.
Lunchtime.
Your workspace is ready.
Looks like you got a corner office.
Be part of something greater. Toyota. Let's go places.
Home internet, what a pain in the... Hey, neighbor!
Try T-Mobile. It sets up so fast.
It's like Wi-Fi that runs on 5G. Home internet from T-Mobile? Wait till you see. Tell me more, tell me more.
One cord's all that you need.
Tell me more, tell me more. Don't you worry about speed.
Saturdays, baseball's best are showing out on Fox. This is where MVPs are VIPs, and where aces always come in pairs. Saturday means it's showtime for Shohei and mealtime for Manny. All the swag, all the salt, and all the slams. The biggest games on the best day of the week. Fox Saturday Baseball returns April 1st.
I need to try it first.
Hey, oh!
A promise is a trust not to be broken.
I say your name.
Whether spoken with an oath,
Do solemnly swear.
it's your first day. You know I got your back, right? Or sealed with a pinky. In 1922, a group of soldiers launched USAA with a promise to take care of their own. And after 100 years, we're still taking care of the military community and their families. That's our mission. Always.
There's a thin line in the NASCAR Xfinity Series between being a name they know and being a name they'll never forget.
When cold symptoms keep you up, try Vicks NyQuil Severe. Just one dose starts to relieve 9 of your worst cold and flu symptoms to help take you from 9 to none. For max strength nighttime relief, NyQuil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, sore throat, best sleep with a cold medicine.
21 laps to go. Brad Keselowski's Ford out in front of Reddick's Toyota. Logano and Blaney in Fords. Bell in a Toyota and Hamlin on the outside. Larry, none of those Toyotas took tires when they stopped at lap 195. What's that going to look like 21 laps from now?
Yeah, Mike, they last took tires at the end of stage 1 at lap 164. Now, since then, we have run about over 20 caution laps. So they're going to be in the neighborhood of about 80 laps on their tires at the end of this race if we don't get a caution.
Now, Brad Keselowski took 4, so he's in good shape for these final 20 laps. Joey Logano took 2 on that last pit stop. So the Penske cars lined up on the inside. They gain a little ground, they lose a little ground on that outside lane.
Saw it getting into one with Ty Gibbs riding along the shade. That sun's going down. Always a bear getting into one, Tony. Oh, bounced off the wall pretty hard.
Ty Gibbs.
Ty Gibbs. Exit. Probably lost the nose up off the corner. Got into that wall pretty hard. Maybe not be able to see. I mean, you saw. Glare is getting very bad for these drivers.
Yeah, late afternoon.
And they couldn't get to Tyler again. Tyler is still clear.
Late afternoon sun, turn 1 has always been an issue here at Daytona since they flipped this racetrack. The backstretch becoming the front stretch.
They're one off of him, both lanes. we got a pretty good shove. Tyler is still clear, staying up. They're inside Tyler now. One back on the bottom. One bottom. Tyler's going to pull him back. He's still got his quarter. Tyler will have the help on exit still. All right, they're pushing on the bottom and top here. Joey's coming to the bottom. Bottom first. Bottom first, then up on exit. One back, 1.5 tops of Tyler here.
It's a chess match. It's just at 185 miles an hour.
The impressive part was he told him to get down, and then while he was down saying on the exit, get up. Anticipating that move. I mean, that's just veteran spotter.
Yep, veteran.
Big gap there, though.
Big block. Slowed that line down. Reddick's starting to have trouble. That outside line deteriorating a little bit. What, 10 laps ago we were saying the bottom was doing that. Here they come back. Huge shot in the back from Blaney into his teammate Logano. Barely got that block off in Keselowski. 15 to go.
And I got to believe Brad truly wants Reddick behind him there. He wants to take a lane away from Logano, take one option away from him.
You want to slow that lane down. You want to slow Logano down. You do not want Logano to get up, which he's thinking about doing. Logano probably needs to get up in front of Reddick and capitalize on that outside momentum. The outside line obviously has better momentum.
Larry, laps winding down. What do you see here?
Well, Mike, we ran 2 races on this configuration at Atlanta last year, and the average of the last caution was 8 to go. But the other trend, the first 4 races of this year, we've had 3 overtime finishes.
Wouldn't rule one out here.
A lot of separation, and them leaders, look at the gap close. Bell. Those are the things you have to be careful of.
Half back, right with you. Watch it doesn't fade.
Oh, it was under him.
Got him.
Inside.
Got under him.
He's been super strong, Joey has, rolling through the bottom of 1 and 2.
But Keselowski just got a big shove from Tyler Reddick.
Yeah, a lot of gap on that bottom, but here comes Blaney. Outside line is put together a little bit better. I still think they win this battle for now. You see that tighter line on the outside. I think that will slowly prevail. Might give Keselowski that opportunity to get back going with that outside inside blocking scenario that he's been able to manage with his crew, or excuse me, his spotter TJ Majors. That's best case scenario for him. Slow that bottom down, Joey Logano, and then utilize that momentum on that outside. Manage that thing. I want to keep Logano on that bottom. I do not want Logano to get on the outside and utilize the momentum, because I know that's where he wants to be.
Yeah, if he ever clears Keselowski, he's gone.
I feel like the 2 key cars in this equation are the 45 of Reddick on the outside line and the 2 car of Cindric on the inside. Every time that the 12 and the 2 car get separation, it slows that inside line down. Same thing with Reddick. If Reddick loses touch with the 6 car, drags that top line down as well.
Funny thing is, again, listening to that pre-race with Brad Keselowski, he told us he'd actually like to be 2nd place coming to the white flag. May not be the scenario here. You may have to block that 2nd place in that big run that you wanted.
Look how long it's been for the number 6.
Boys, we got us a race here.
10 to go. 23 cars within 1.5 seconds of the leader.
Brad got tied off of 4.
The separation in the Penske cars, haven't seen that this entire stint.
Tires are starting to wear out. Just like I just said, I think Brad got tied off of 4. Reddick just got tied in the wake of him. And I think those cars on the inside, you see Cindric shoving up on the outside. Bowman almost got underneath them because of that. Tires are starting to wear out. Can't stay on the bumper in that wake.
Cindric can't hold the bottom to stay up close to Blaney, to stay up close to Logano.
Need handling here. Need track position. I think.
I can't remember how long it's been since somebody led this race by a car length or more. It's been this close, lap after lap.
These lappers are going to be interesting. As they get around them, that deteriorates that inside line, kind of breaks it up, creates opportunities. Both the outside and inside of the second row. Blaney and Reddick are having trouble staying on the bumper of those leaders. That creates that management. You got to manage that gap. Do not get too far out, either one of those. But you also can't give the advantage to one or the other for that front row. This is a lot of chess match, as you call it, Mike.
Inside door.
And the hard part with 500 horsepower and a tall spoiler, if you lift to try to keep backing up to somebody, it's hard to get it spooled back up.
Now Reddick is there. He gives Keselowski the boot going into turn 1 and pushes him now 2 car lengths ahead of Joey Logano.
Now I feel like Brad has a better opportunity to manage the race now.
Gets a little far out front there, and now Reddick back to him. It'll be 5 laps to go when they come to the line.
The longer they go, the older their tires get. That outside line has definitely been able to, and we saw it yesterday, we saw it last year. The outside line is a preferred line. See, it's starting to prevail again here. I don't think these Penske cars are done, though. You have the fastest car. That 22 has proven he's the fastest car all day, but that 6 car ain't much behind him. And the 6 car is in the preferred line.
And as you've said all day, the further back you get, the worse that car is going to handle. Question is, will Reddick, Bell, and Hamlin leave this to Keselowski, or do they have a move planned?
Heck no. And they're wanting exactly what's happening. They're wanting that 22 and that inside line to start backing up, to open up the door for that opportunity. When those leaders were side by side, door to door, that opportunity wasn't on the table. It is now. The inside's in trouble, and it's creating this opportunity for these 3 Toyotas to do exactly, Tony, is what Brad was wanting to do. Be in second place where the white flag comes. Be patient here if you're Toyota. But if that inside line gets up there and takes that away from them, you might see them make that move earlier than they want to.
Still side
be
by
forced
side behind
to.
the 45 bottom, still struggling. 1 back, he's clear by 1.5. 1 back, he's clear by 1.5.
This is going to be, from what I'm seeing, coming to 2 to go. The inside line's deteriorating. These 3 Toyotas are going to be perfect case scenario. It's going to be a big time block if you're Brad Keselowski. Listen to TJ Majors, and if you're Reddick, make your move when it counts. Back up to their teammate and get a massive head of steam.
Every driver in the top 6 has been to victory lane since Keselowski's last win, May of 2021 at Talladega. Here comes Bell.
Bell wasn't going to wait.
Neither's LaJoy.
Corey LaJoy right in the middle there of that number 7.
Coming to white
now behind
flag.
Logano. White flag, 1 lap to go, sponsored by Credit One Bank.
Pick your block here. It's going up. He blocked him, much like we saw.
Outside. You got help coming. Outside, Joey.
Put Logano right on the outside where he wanted to be.
Bell with a big push.
Big push coming bottom.
Now LaJoy to help Keselowski on the bottom. And the car that has led 139 laps today is going to lead 140. Joey Logano dominates Atlanta for Team Penske and Ford.
Wow. Takes me right back. Put him on that outside. Exactly where he wanted to be. Somehow, some way, he found a way to get there. Brad made a good block. There was just too many of them. You got to pick one of them or the other. You heard him talking and managing that all day long. He chose to go with believe it or not, Logano, which was coming on the bottom. And somehow he got to this outside by the time it was all said and done.
And that all started with Bell in turn 3 dropping to the bottom. It created all that havoc and started getting that chain unlinked.
And unlike every
car, guys. Freaking animal of a car. Awesome. Yes! Atlanta!
And unlike every other race this weekend, Craftsman Trucks, Xfinity, the 12 Hours of Sebring, the Cup Series had a clean green flag finish.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. You know, as hard as everybody was pushing, just unbelievable. Hey, Corey LaJoy, 4th place. Big run for them. Eric Jones, 8th. But man, the heartbreak goes to Keselowski. So close for that 6 car in RFK, getting that thing in victory lane that he wanted so bad.
It's the 32nd career win for Joey Logano and his first at Atlanta. He spent 4 years living in a condo above turn 4 here, looking down at this speedway out the window and wondering when, if ever, today.
Today's win, hey, you got to give it to him.
He absolutely did his job, and to get that lead on the bottom like that, I mean, that was impressive. Getting there and then having to switch, get to the top to get around Keselowski to get that win.
You said it. Bell making a move a little bit too early, surprising Reddick. He made the move, created this opportunity. Joey was down and out. Getting into 3, Joey was down and out. As soon as he moved down, afforded him that opportunity with the momentum, cars in front of him. Rest is history. Brad made the block.
Let's have a look at it.
Just gives him, just didn't chase him up far enough. He probably thought that Joey was going to go ahead and tug on the wheel and try to get under him.
Well, and I think he probably thought he stalled him out enough. I thought he stalled him out enough. Now you get to conversation. All right, now who's coming on to listen to what they've been doing? Made that block, stalled him out, get to the next line. Here comes LaJoy on the inside. I think he was looking over his shoulder to make that block, and unfortunately, 22 stayed right there with momentum.
First win of the season for Ford. They break the Chevy stranglehold on victory lane this year, finishing 1, 2, and 7. Toyota 3, 5, and 6. Jamie.
Joey Logano finally gets his first win here at Atlanta, and you just got a big hug. Your dad ran all the way out here to hug you. How did you guys nail this setup of this car? There were so many questions coming into it.
Yeah, first off, it's so special to win Atlanta for me. So many memories of me and my dad racing right here on the quarter mile, and this is the full circle for us. So many memories gritting over there at the Legends car and racing and having a big time and dreaming of going straight at the quarter mile and going on to the big track. That was always a dream to do it, and to finally win here means so much to me personally, but to this race team, the Auto Trader Mustang. This thing was an animal. It was very, very fast, and was able to lead a ton of laps and race really hard there at the end and get a good push from the 20 to clear myself and enough of a push to get all the way to the end. So huge victory. Nice to get one early in the season. It always feels better, but what a great day for us.
Well, you dominated today, but it all came down obviously to the decisions you made on those last few laps. Take us through what it's like in this high-speed chess match, the patience and, you know, the commitment from your spotter to get it done when it counts.
Coleman's amazing. He's the best spotter on the roof by a long shot. He's given me great information the whole time, you know, to be able to make the right moves on the racetrack. He understands it so well. That on top of the car that Paul gave me, just a really special race team to be able to maximize what we had here today. Fast car, great team. Say hey to my wife, my kids at home. Hey guys, we're coming home with a trophy, baby.
Joey Logano wins for the first time this season.
Well, Brad Keselowski comes home in second place. Brad, seemed like you did everything right as the race played out towards the end there. So close at the end.
Yeah, just the bottom run came with a huge run. I don't know how. And I thought I had it blocked, and Joey just kept shaking, and his car didn't stall out. I couldn't get the push down the back. I thought, I'll just get a push down the back, and the 20 car just hauled down there. But great run on and off for RFK 6 Hawaiian Ford Mustang, and we were right there. Glad a Ford won. It was a heck of a battle. You know, the coolest thing about this, Regan, is 2 veterans showed that you can run a race here side by side, bump drafting, and not wreck the field. I think that's the coolest thing. It can happen if you race respectfully, and I thought everybody did a great job. So we were right there. Proud of my team and the effort. Just not much we could do there.
Definitely great racing there at the end. This race team this season, though, has come so far from a year ago. How much pride does that give you?
Yeah, I mean, night and day from where we were a year ago. 100% Regan. And you just keep running like this, and the good finishes and the wins will hum.
Thanks, Brad.
3 Fords in the top 10, 4 Toyotas, and 3 Chevrolets led by Corey LaJoie at the end of 260 laps. And I love what Brad said. You race with respect, you have a fantastic finish. What more could you ask for?
He did it all. Everything but win. Oh, so close.
Joey Logano, Team Penske, celebrate in Atlanta. Congratulations to Coca-Cola Racing family driver Joey Logano, defending series champ, for his first win at Atlanta. And a big one. First win of the season in his title defense puts him into the playoff picture. "17 drivers finished within 1 second of each other, and unlike any other race this weekend, we had a clean green flag finish, as Brad Keselowski pointed out, racing each other with respect. I loved it. I loved the finish.
Yeah, this racetrack, the changes they made, we all sat there and said, why are they doing this? It was such a great racetrack. It was fun for the drivers. But when you see the racing action like we saw today and see the fans, see how excited they are here, this is an unbelievable race to be at now. You get the best of both worlds. You get super speedway racing, but the best of a mile and a half at the same time.
Well, we saw a lot. Saw a lot of new. Pit road, moving that pit road around, that created opened up a whole new can of worms for us. Saw first green flag pit stop on this configuration. That was wild. And then that ending. Holy cow, does it get any better? A master class for Brad Keselowski, TJ Majors, the blocks inside, outside, managing those gaps. Everything that they did, we heard that in the radio. That was awesome. But Joey Logano and the Ford camp, the fastest cars won this race today. It's all about competition, folks. And those Fords, 8 out of 10 in qualifying on yesterday, they figured out a way to be there at the end of this race, and they were putting on the display for the win. Joey Logano, unbelievable, wins him another one.
Now, let's not lose sight of the fact that for the second week in a row, a Toyota pushed the winner to victory lane. Last week it was Tyler Reddick. This week it was Christopher Bell with that big shove that enabled Logano to win this on the last lap.
Yeah, and then the Chevrolets too. I mean, there was just so much going on. It's your typical, it's a super speedway. Yeah. But wait a minute, it's kind of not. I dig it.
But I think the one thing I like, though, 2 races in a row, Corey LaJoie has got it going on. I guarantee you Atlanta Motor Speedway is now his favorite track for sure.
Well, we're going to hear from him in a second, but first to Regan with Christopher Bell.
Well, Christopher Bell had himself in position at the end of that race. You gave the 22 a huge shot down the back straightaway. Did you think maybe down in 3 and 4 you have an opportunity to get around him?
Honestly, I did not. At that point, whenever the 22 and the 6 got side by side, I felt like I lost the race. So really, I think I screwed up whenever I went to the top. I will come into the white or one of those laps. I boarded on the bottom and went to the top and gave the 22 the bottom, which ultimately got him the lead. So that was disappointing, but ultimately to come home third, I'm super happy with that. Great showing for our dual Camry.
Nice job, Christopher. Thanks.
How about a great feel-good story? Corey LaJoie, once again, we saw you scored his top 5 a year ago, but you did one better. Best career finish of 4th. How good does that feel for this team?
Feels great. It's like this taboo to say, oh, second sucks, 4th sucks. 4th is great. I mean, 4th is great for our Celsius Camaro and our small team. It's a great points day. We started off the year West Coast swing really solid, and to come back here, it's a bit of a crapshoot, but to get another career best here, I don't expect to show up and instantly win a race. You have to just keep putting yourself in these positions like Joey. That's why, he wins all the time, because he's up front all the time. So as I get myself some more confidence, race around these guys see me up there racing with them, our day's going to come.
A great day for Corey LaJoie. So here are the results. Well, Tony, thanks for taking a break from drag racing, coming back with us, and we'll look forward to seeing you at Bristol.
The sad part is I'm going drag racing the next 2 weeks, but I'll see you at Bristol at the dirt. Cannot wait, man. I am excited to see it in person.
Clint, we go road racing next week.
We do. Man, we have some F1 drivers. We got a whole lineup for you guys at that place. Awesome racetrack. Cannot wait to get down there. Texas is a lot of fun. Everything's bigger in Texas, including COTA. It's going to be a wild one.
All right, we're going to pack up and practice right turns for Austin, Texas. And we're going to turn you over to the studio on the other side of this break. What a finish. Joey Logano wins in Atlanta for the very first time. Brad Keselowski, Christopher Bell, Corey LaJoie, Tyler Reddick, the top 5 in Atlanta.
We'll keep burning that flame.
Right around the time he earned the nickname Sliced Bread, defending champ Joey Logano was racing Bandoleros and winning at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. He had never done it at NASCAR's top level in the Cup Series, and today, not only did he get that win, but he led 140 laps, started on point, and drove all the way to victory lane. His 32nd career victory. What a day it was for Joey Logano out there in Atlanta. Welcome into our race day studios, everyone, as Joey is celebrating. That is a really cool shot. It almost looks like Joey's in the studio with us. Shannon, Larry, and Jamie. I mean, you got to start with Joey Logano because we've just spent the last 4 weeks talking about the Chevys, and all of a sudden, here comes the 22, and he is on fire in Atlanta.
But I was a little bit concerned about that 22 car right after the beginning of the final stage because, remember, he had led all those laps. In fact, in the first 2 stages, his average running position was second, which he led most of those laps right there. But then he got back in traffic, and I'm thinking, is he in trouble back there from a handling standpoint? But they just kept chipping away, made all the right moves there at the end.
Yeah, he and his teammates, both Cindric and Blaney, were so committed to helping him. And to me, that's really what put him in this position to be able to win, is the commitment. And he stayed committed to them as well. He could have went up to the top lane a couple times, stayed committed on the bottom. And, you know, look, and we talked about this being a drafting type race. You have to be a little bit lucky to be able to win at one of these. He had the fastest car, but things fell his way at the end. And what happened needed to happen for him to win.
All right, we're going to watch the pass for the lead and ultimately the win on Brad Keselowski. Brad mentioned post-race that it was 2 vets racing each other clean, and it was so much fun to watch. So we're going to have you walk us through it, Jamie. Tell us how he made this work.
Well, this all starts getting into turn 3. You see Christopher Bell makes the move on Reddick. We thought they were going to stick together because, you know, of being the Toyotas. And you see Joey Logano, I thought, was out of it going into turn 3. But when Bell makes that move, it allows Logano, it kind of breaks that draft up. And then look at the run that he's going to get right here. Bell talked about opting to stay on the outside. Joey goes to the inside. Brad felt like he had made the block, but look at this. He thinks he's going to go to the inside. Joey's able to just break the plane of that rear bumper of Brad Keselowski. And once he's in this position, Brad talked about needing that big bump. He can't get it. Bell gives Joey Logano a huge shot. And once he gets out front right here, it's smooth sailing, Shannon.
Yeah, as they went down the back straightaway, I was watching the data. Joey Logano drug his brake pedal just a little bit. When Bell got into him, he picked up 7 miles per hour with that bump.
Man, what about Brad Keselowski, right? Because we know last year how things went down. This was actually the site of one of his penalties, and it really just kind of spiraled out of control for Brad Keselowski. And they have come out of the box this season at RFK Racing, and they have really shown some speed, obviously almost winning today.
Yeah, I mean, they really have. And you go back to the beginning of this year, once again, both of the RFK cars completely missed the show at the Busch Clash at the LA Coliseum. But Brad has led at least 1 lap in all 5 races this year.
Yeah, listen, Brad and Joey are 2 of the best currently in the Cup Series at this type of racing. I thought it was cool that he pointed out how they race each other so clean. But Brad, I feel so bad for him because he spent 30 minutes holding those guys off, making all the right moves. We heard TJ Majors helping him. And, you know, when you're a driver, you use the spotter as verification. Like, you kind of already know the move you want to make, but then they verify what you're already thinking. TJ's walking him through all that. One bad decision, one not making that block when needed to end up costing him the win.
And the irony is, who did TJ used to spot for? He used to spot for Joey Logano, and those 2 guys
kind of know each other. That's right.
Absolutely. But I mean, you really rely. I mean, it was awesome listening to TJ Majors.
I loved it when Clint and Tony would hold out and just let us listen to the spotters, because ultimately, as a spotter, and I always tell fans, like, close your eyes when you're at home and just listen to them, because they paint a picture. And if they paint a picture that you can see, then they're doing their job.
Yeah, and Coleman Presley does the same thing for Joey Logano. He has so much confidence in Coleman Presley as his spotter.
Yeah, we've already heard from some of the guys in the top 10. Stick with us to the top of the hour because we're going to hear from all of the guys in the top 10, starting with Tyler Reddick, who finished 5th. Remember, the beginning of the day, we didn't even know if he was going to be in that race car. Wasn't feeling good. John Hunter Nemechek was fitted inside that race car. He did finish the day, finished 5th, and he's with Regan Smith.
Well, Tyler Reddick had got through the race today. Not feeling good as the race started. Fast race car, though, that's got to be the best medicine you can get.
Yeah, it really was. This morning was kind of a struggle for me. Didn't get really any sleep through the early morning hours of the morning, and just really thankful that our Xfinity Toyota Camry TRD was handling as well as it was. It was definitely as fast as the Xfinity 10G network too. Man, I miss saying that back to the Xfinity days, running in that series. But Yeah, we had a good car. Just I need to, me, Denny, and Christopher would definitely talk about what we could have done differently there. I was trying to make sure all three of us could benefit from it, and fortunately, I feel like, my hesitancy cost us.
Thanks, Tyler.
I think maybe he gave Michael Jordan a call, and Jordan said, hey, you ever heard of that flu game? You're getting in that car and you're making it happen. But listen, Tyler Reddick, 2 weeks ago, you were ready to go into that garage and give him a hug because his season just
I wouldn't hug him today. He's sick.
No.
Yeah, I want to keep my distance, but yeah, the way the first 3 races went, but then third at Phoenix, another top 5 today, and it was not completely glitch-free. At the end of stage 2, they had to come back to pit road for a second time because they couldn't get fuel in that 45 car, so he restarted at the beginning of that final stage way deep in the field.
Yeah, and I mentioned how Logano, the Penske guys all stayed together, right? And they've raced together a lot, so they kind of know what the other's going to do. When I listened to Tyler talk there, he mentioned that he and Bell maybe should have done something different. But you got to remember, they were against each other for all these years now. They're kind of on the same team. So they're going to have to get used to that. But, look, he's racing, I mentioned, 2 of the best drafting guys there are with Brad and Joey. And from where his year started to what the last 2 weeks have been, he's got to be feeling that's the best medicine that he could have.
It really is. All right, let's hear from one of his team owners. That is Denny Hamlin. Finished 6th in today's race and is standing by with Jamie Little.
Denny Hamlin brings it home 6th, and that ties his best finish of the season. You had some moments there that it looked like it could be your day, Denny, but take us through overall what your takeaway is.
Yeah, I mean, it's just tough. The last pit road incident, where cars are coming in, I'm coming out, and that's just part of it, the traffic jam that you get on there. But the speedways in general, like this one, it's just kind of 2 by 2, and you can't really pull out to a 3rd lane. And so I just restarted, I think 4th on the outside row, and that's where I ended up. So it's just, you got to stay in line and just watch the cars in front of you and see if you can make a hole. But overall, happy for Cindric's coming on again this week, and hopefully we can keep getting these Toyotas towards the front.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, during that interview, you started writing something down. What stood out to you about what he said?
Well, I saw him coming on pit road, and Ty Dillon, he was trying to exit his pit stall. Ty Dillon was trying to get into his. No fault of anyone. It's just kind of the timing of that. And because you're not putting 4 tires on and staying for the whole length of a tank of fuel, the timing of that was just wrong for him. The other thing is, and we have seen that with this car at Daytona and Talladega, there is no 3rd lane. I know this track is narrow. It's wide enough to have 3 cars, but the 3rd lane just doesn't develop. It's too far around the top, and the cars punch such a big hole in the air, there's too much drag on it. So unless you can get that, it's all about numbers. And Clint and Tony talked about this the entire broadcast. The bottom lane was fine if it had equal to or more cars than the outside lane, but there's just not enough cars right now to develop the 3rd lane.
Yeah, they're talking about that pit stop at lap 195 after the wreck with Kevin Harvick, Ross Chastain over there off turn 2. I mean, how they did not knock a fender off that 11 car right there is absolutely beyond me, but he recovered from it. And I really thought, Jamie, when I saw the 11, the 20, and the 45, those 3 Toyotas, I went, these Fords are sitting duck right now.
Yeah, I did too. And it's interesting you bring that up about not knocking the fender off, because with the old car, that contact would have cost him his day with the steel fenders. But these fenders kind of go in and they tend to go back out as long as you don't get hit too hard.
That was the craziest start to stage 3 because it was like super calm for the first 2 stages. And then, of course, the Ross Chastain, Kevin Harvick thing happens, and then that happens immediately following on pit road.
Yeah, and so we watched the race together, right? And there wasn't a lot happening early on. But I think it's important to note that the Cup guys are the best, right? They're at the Cup Series because they're really good drivers. They've watched for the last 2 days all of the wrecks, and I thought they did a great job not going out and repeating what we have seen. The track obviously has lost some grip. That top lane was the preferred lane. And listen, when push came to shove, they got a little more aggressive at the end, but I thought they did a really good job having a pretty clean race overall.
In the words of Clint Boyer, when you start the final stage, the pay window's open.
Yeah, I mean, Ross Chastain was in the grass. It was wild. We talk about the Fords. The Fords had a great day. Another one of those Team Penske drivers, Ryan Blaney, finished 7th. He's with Regan Smith.
Well, Ryan Blaney, a strong race car all day long. When it's all said and done, 7th place, but you were up there in the midst of all the battles. What was it like from your perspective?
Yeah, we got up there by the end. I sped in the 2nd stage and kind of put us behind the 8 ball, and was happy we were able to get back up there to at least towards the front, and yeah, pushing Joey on the bottom there. Being in the 2nd row, I just could never get clear. We could never, we never even got him clear, really. I think one time he got it clear, and then the top kind of came back, and then at the end it just gets all jumbled. But yeah, I just could never really get broken free to make any moves. But overall, appreciate Body Armor, Sport Water
for coming on. It was a cool-looking car today. I wish we could have got him in victory lane, but happy we got a Mustang in victory lane. That was good, and decent finish for us, too, especially after my mistake. So happy for that, and go to coach.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right, so you mentioned going to COTA, right? So not a lot will translate from what we've seen over the past couple weeks. However, what we saw out of the Fords today, are you buying what they're selling right now, just based on the performance today?
Yeah, I don't know if anything is relative headed to that road course at COTA. And remember, this is not even really necessarily relative to Phoenix last week, Vegas. This was a super speedway type package. But I know we're at 50-plus races without a win for Ryan Blaney. There is just no way you can have that fast of a race car week in and week out
and not win,
and somehow not find victory lane.
Yeah, the only thing that will translate to next week is just the momentum that he has, right? He finished second at Phoenix, had another great run today. I was impressed with him because he got a lap down, as he mentioned, because of the pit road speeding penalty. Finally got the wave around, or the lucky dog, and he passed about 12 or 14 cars in 5 or 6 laps. And I'm like, oh, like he obviously has one of the faster cars. We saw it earlier on, but he was able to maneuver through traffic. But he talked about it. He stayed committed to Joey, and they just couldn't. You're just trying to break the plane of the car in front of you, and they just could never get there.
All right. A Toyota driver is up next as we continue to run through the list of top 10 drivers out there at Atlanta. Earlier today, we've got Ty Gibbs. He finished 9th.
And Ty Gibbs brings it home 9th, his best career finish in the Cup Series. Where do you feel like you stack up at this point? I know you're learning so much every single week.
Yeah, I feel like we had a very fast Monster Energy Toyota Camry TRD. I was proud of my 54 group efforts and just making gains every time. I feel like we've had great speed all year, just haven't finished well with some mistakes on my end that I need to clean up. And I'm happy with my team efforts, and we had a solid finish there. Was definitely eventful.
Eventful. Yes, I mean, listen, he came from racing on Saturdays, winning and contending for wins almost every single week. And how many times I've heard the longest distance in the NASCAR garage is from the Xfinity Series to the Cup Series. How much of a shot in the arm is this for him to finish in the top 10?
Yeah, Cup's humbling, for sure. I mean, you go from the amount of races that he's won over the past couple of years to the Cup Series. It's tough. And I think Toyota's a little bit behind, maybe than what Chevy is, but maybe behind Ford just a little bit. But I tell you, he had an incredible save earlier in the race when I think it was in the Harvick wreck. I don't know how he missed from destroying his car, but he didn't. So to recover for that finish, I expected him to be a little more excited than he was in that interview. But listen, super talented guy, obviously with a good team, and he'll figure it out. But Cup's humbling.
Yeah, I mean, to me, a rookie in the Cup Series, especially in the first part of the season, a top 15 finish to me is a big accomplishment. That's expectations, at least for me, for a rookie. So to get that top 10, actually his first top 15 of the season. And Jamie talked about confidence and momentum. He is a pretty good little road racer, so he takes this now to COTA next week.
Yeah, I mean, you can smell victory lane, so of course you're going to be disappointed. I do want to ask about the dynamic at Joe Gibbs Racing. Do you think that we're seeing Christopher Bell as sort of the emerging, I mean that guy, he's the guy.
I mean,
he's the guy right now.
The statistics will tell us that is the case. But really, I mean, it started last year when he had the 2, walk-off wins to advance to the next round of the playoffs and then to make the championship 4. And honestly, it's at every type of racetrack. I mean, he's won at the Daytona road course. He's good at short tracks. He's obviously good at this type of track. I mean, listen, when he came over, he was kind of like the next Kyle Larson. It was the discussion because of their background together. And he didn't quite show the same speed that Kyle had. But he just gets better each and every week. So, yeah, clearly a threat.
A guy that left, of course, Joe Gibbs Racing last season to move over to RCR, Kyle Busch, already has 1 win this season, got a top 10 in Atlanta today. Let's hear from him.
Well, Kyle Busch very strong early on in this race, and then had a spin, had a couple different things happen as the race went on. Still ended up with a 10th place finish, though.
Yeah, I mean, top 10's great, but, man, it just... nothing you could do the last 40 laps of the race, I tried to work on a couple things there, got to the inside. I got shuffled out and got to the inside through the middle and then was able to pick up a few of the ones that I got shuffled on. But then there at the end, tried a couple times to get to the outside and just nothing there, just hit a block of air. And I don't know, just fortunate to come home with a top 10, with everything that kind of went on today. Missed some of the wrecks and got a good finish for the Lenovo Camaro. So points day, but we want more. Certainly finishing 8th, 9th, 10th is going to get frustrating, and so I thought there was more than that in us today, and just didn't quite get there. So thanks to Rowdy Energy, Chevrolet, and everybody that helps us out. We'll go next week.
Thanks, Kyle.
Finishing 8th, 9th, 10th is going to get frustrating, especially after he went out and won that race the way that he did. Did you expect more out of Kyle Busch as we proceeded through the season?
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, they won race number 2 at Fontana, California. Again, a very different racetrack, but Regan mentioned it. They went through a lot today. I mean, he spun over there in that big wreck at lap 189. They had to pit early during the green flag pit stops because they didn't get it full. They had to pit at lap 125. They had to hold their breath for about 17 or 18 laps until that green flag pit stop cycled all the way through, or they were going to be 2 laps down. So they really fought a lot today.
Well, you mentioned COTA a second ago, and we're obviously going there next week. He's a good road racer, and that car was
always
really
fast.
good at road races last year. So to me, I'm licking my lips if I'm Kyle Busch to get to COTA next weekend.
Licking your chops?
My chops.
Yeah.
I was going to lick my lips. Yeah.
It's all right. What do you make about the way that the Chevys ran?
You know, I thought they were, I don't think they were as good as the Fords.
Yeah.
I think they, you know, and of course this is the first time that the Chevys have not won this year. And I talked about it on the race day show. They had won 7 of the 8 stages going in. Yeah. But again, this is a very different package that we're going to counter for a while.
All right, let's go to break. We'll come back. We're going to wrap things up and continue to break down the things that went on out there in Atlanta.
This week on America's only daily NASCAR show, there may have been some drama on the West Coast swing. Lots of drama. But we're back east in Atlanta, where the drivers need to, well, watch their mouths.
I'm sure I'll get to you and everything will be broken and we'll be done for the day.
It's radioactive. And can you say COTA? Saddle up as we get you ready for the first road course race of the season on NASCAR Race Hub. Weeknight 6 p.m. Eastern on FS1.
Eric Almirola is on Race Hub tomorrow. Brad Keselowski is also on this week, as well as Daniel Suarez. Keselowski is going to be great to hear how things really went down, get his perspective on today's race. Let's kind of flash back to right around lap 189. That was about 20 laps after we started stage 3, and that's when we had the big one. It's funny, Kevin Harvick was on Race Hub earlier this week. He said there was a 100% chance that we were going to have a big one. Just a little bit of irony that he was actually involved in it.
Well, I mean, he was the leader of the race, and you see how many cars get caught up in it. But, you know, we went back and looked at about every angle, camera angle that we had, and even Harvick said it, that he felt like that Ross did not hit him, but when he made that move from the right to the left across the rear bumper, that's when it just took the air off of him.
Listen, this is like the guilty by association. Ross has been involved in so many of these accidents that when it happened, I think everybody's like, Ross got him another one, right? But it doesn't look like he hit him. It literally was just the air off the car, and Harvick's car, honestly, there's some bumps there.
You see the gap right there?
Yeah. It just, you can see the flames coming out. Harvick's already out of the tailpipes, or out of the gas right there, knowing that the car's starting to yaw. And one thing that's important to note is that with the old style car, when it yawed out, you could save it because it didn't lose like the side force and the downforce. This car, when it starts to yaw out, you lose everything, and so it's much harder to save. We just don't see you guys having the big saves we used to.
Let's face it, there's some drivers, if they get up in the middle of the night and stub their toe, they go, where's Chastain at? I mean, it's just the world we're living in right now.
He came on the radio and he said, I didn't even touch him, and I was like, yeah, you did, but he didn't, and even Kevin mentioned it. Tell me what that's like, right? Because I did ask you this question. What is it like when a driver gets behind you, takes that air off, and what does it feel like?
It's different in every situation, right? I mean, this car is obviously different than, and the rules can change that as well. I mean, clearly Harvick's car, the balance was pretty free. It must have been riding rough, and it caught him off guard. When you're the leader, I mean, you have the most grip of any position you can be in. You expect something like this to happen as a driver if you're running 20 at 3 wide and in the back, but when you're the leader, it totally caught him off guard.
What about Kevin Harvick, right? Because now it's been back-to-back weeks that we've seen him up front after wondering when he was going to start to run where we expect Kevin Harvick to run.
You know, honestly, he's been up front almost all year long. You know, he looked like he was headed for a top 5, top 10 today. The worst finish before today was 12th in the Daytona 500. Kind of like Blaney, you just keep bringing fast race cars to all these different types of tracks, all these different aero packages, you're going to cash in.
How much does that for running well and running fast rise the entire leadership at Stewart-Haas Racing.
Well, they all ran pretty well today.
Yeah.
I mean, Priest got a pit road violation. Eric's leading when that tire blows out. So all those cars ran better today. But Larry's talked about it. It's such an anomaly today, being so much different. But the fact that Kevin has run well at every type track, they have a good baseline. They have somewhere to start from. The most frustrating thing as an organization is if everybody's running bad and you all have different setups, you don't have a direction of where to go. They have a starting point with the 4-car, and to me, that's all they really need.
Felt so bad for Eric Almirola, the way he talked to his guys on the radio. He said, guys, just keep bringing me fast race cars. We're going to get across the hump. I just felt so bad.
Larry's going to give him a hug.
Did you say anomaly?
He's my next guy.
Did you say today was an anomaly?
Anomaly.
Anomaly,
yes.
yeah. Well, next week's going to be an anomaly as well, because we're going to COTA.
Next Sunday on Fox, we're heading to the Lone Star State. Don't miss the Texas-sized lefts and rights as your favorite drivers beat and bang on the turns of Austin's road course.
And Ross Chastain beats and bangs his way to the checkered flag.
See? I told you. Who'll take home the checkered flag at COTA? Find out next Sunday, starting at 2 p.m. Eastern on FS1 and Fox.
All right, so McMurray told me it's not an anomaly. It's
there's more than one of them.
Shannon.
There's
All right.
6 of them.
Just call me Alanis Morissette with ironic. But, going to COTA, this is a great racetrack. Ross Chastain won here last year. Not an anomaly, everybody. What are you expecting to see?
Well, we had a great finish last year. You remember Allmendinger, Bowman, and Chastain, obviously, with that battle for the win. But I'm also looking forward to seeing the 2 Formula 1 guys be back. Jordan Taylor's going to be in the 9-car. There's a lot going to happen at that track. So I'm looking forward to just kind of seeing how the whole weekend gets better. Jimmy Johnson's back. So, yeah, a lot of one-offs. And we used to have the road course ringers, and that kind of went away. And now these guys are back. And the best part of this is that they get to get in really good cars.
We started seeing this the last few years, even with the old car, that picking a winner, a favorite for a road course, it's becoming about as tough to do as any racetrack we go to. But you look back last year, the first year with this next-gen car, 6 road courses. Tyler Reddick was the only repeat winner. And having Chastain win and people like that, it's not necessarily who would expect to be running up front at a road course, but they were.
Is this a place where maybe a guy like Jimmy Johnson? I mean, I know he's spent a little bit of time running IndyCar and.
I mean, obviously his road racing would be better because of all the IndyCar racing he's done. It's so hard to win when you're just racing every once in a while. And he's going to have the 3rd best pit crew that they have at Legacy Motor Club. So you kind of have things going against you, but I think for Jimmy, this year is about having fun, and clearly COTA's a track that everybody wants to go run.
And this is the second time to go there with this car, and we are going to have a 50-minute practice on Friday because we're going there with that very low downforce aero package like we just raced at Phoenix. We'll be running it at all the road courses, but this will be the first time they will encounter it.
I'm looking forward to that because, you never really used to hear aero issues at road courses. All these guys complained about it last year, though. So to me, Phoenix, I kind of throw that out. It might be an anomaly, but this low downforce package at the road course races, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to make that better.
What about the new adjustment with stage brakes as well?
That's going to be different. I always go back and watch the race from last year where I can get my arms around what the strategy was like. Forget it. Because we're going to have stage brakes. We're just not going to throw a caution and stop. We're going to award points and we're just going to keep going.
He's totally going to take that.
I was just going to say that. I was totally just going to say that. I was like, $1,000 we see him tape this back
up. You better believe it is. It's all my notes for race stuff tomorrow.
He's mad that he did that.
Oh, my goodness. Adam Alexander, he's got no notes for the show tomorrow. He just ripped them all. This is so funny.
So bad.
This is so funny.
I can't believe I did that.
Can we get some tape in here? Next Sunday, we're going road course racing at Austin. Coverage begins at 2 Eastern on FS1, continues at 3 Eastern on Fox. Don't forget, we got Race on Larry Mack with his taped up notes will be on tomorrow. And tonight we have A Farmer Wants a Wife, followed by The Simpsons. You guys are awesome hanging out with us all night tonight here on a Sunday, Atlanta Motor Speedway. Congrats to Joey Logano.
This is dirt racer Kenny Wallace. The dirt race is back at Bristol in 2023, and once again, it's a night race. It's the Food City Dirt Race, 7 p.m. on Sunday, April 9th. I want to see all my diehard NASCAR and dirt racing fans there, so get your tickets today. Remember, this isn't just any old dirt race. It's a dirt race at Bristol, baby.